Thank you so much, sir. Join, sir. Welcome.
Good morning, Director sir. Good morning.
Sir, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Lodha sir.
Lodha sir has joined.
हाँ अभी join किया उन्होंने.
The director sir, if you permit, we will start.
Please go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So Veda, please start.
Yes, ma'am. I hope I am audible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Annam Brahma Raso Vishnu Akto Deva Maheshwara Even Nakva Tuyo Bhunte Anna Dosho Na Lakyate. The creative, nourishing and transforming effect of food is explained as the Trinity through the sloka. It underlines the importance of holistic nutrition. It emphasizes that food we eat becomes a part of us. We are what we eat. Distinguished guests, speakers, IRA fraternity, members of the esteemed society, a very good morning to each one of you. A warm welcome on behalf of the Division of Biochemistry IRA and Society for Plant Biochemistry and Biotechnology on this webinar in conjunction with the valedictory function of the National Nutrition Month 2020. It's indeed a privilege and pleasure that we have our chief guest, Honorable Director IARA, and the guest of honor, President SPBB, with us today. We have three esteemed speakers to enlighten us on various dimensions of nutrition today. To begin with, may I now request Dr. Shelly Praveen, Head Division of Biochemistry, for the welcome address.
आप सबको मेरा नमस्कार. Dr. A.K. Singh, Director IARI, Dr. S.L. Mehta, President, Society of Plant Biochemistry and Biotechnology, and former DDG and Vice Chancellor, Dr. Rashmi Agrawal, Dean and Joint Director Education. I cannot see Dr. Bhatt. Dr. Srinivasan is here. Dr. Kole, Dr. Man Singh, all heads of the division from different divisions in the IRI, all the speakers, three speakers from today's function, coming from three different backgrounds. One is agriculture scientist, another is food scientist, and the third one is surgeon. So it is a combination of agriculture, nutrition, and health. All the three speakers are here, and invited guests from different institutes, all the biochemists joining this function from different institutes, students of biochemistry division, and faculty and staff of biochemistry division. A very, very warm welcome to all of you. Today, we all gathered here to celebrate the valedictory function of this National Nutrition Month. So you all know the genesis of this Nutrition Month, which is explained very well by our Honorable Prime Minister in Man Ki Baat on 30th August. So how important is nutrition for a country? He explained it, and as a agriculture scientist, it is our duty to fulfill the dream of our Prime Minister so that we have a nutritious and healthy workforce for the country. So as you all know, nutrition is not a new science. Nutrition is a very old science, as old as 400 BC, the first record which I am able to get it, 400 BC, the science of nutrition was explained. And in 1600s, I am able to see a maxim by La Rochefoucauld that to eat is a necessity and to eat intelligently is an art. So that is really a very important maxim, and I want to explain it in few minutes. That necessity when we have to fill our stomachs. And after independence in India, that was a necessity, and all the Green Revolution, all the technological advancement through Green Revolution, we are now self-sufficient. So the first line of this maxim is fulfilled, and we have enough grains in our granaries. Now, the second line says that to eat intelligently is an art. So how to eat intelligently? So if you see the the irony of the system, on one side, the agriculture fraternity, we say that our farmers are in distress and they are not getting enough money to continue this profession. And their next generation is not willing to continue agriculture as a profession. But on the other hand, if you see nutrition, health, and wellness industry, globally, if you see their share in the global economy from 20 to 2024, it is 1,500 billion USD. So on one side, we have a distress, on other side, it is a fortune. So now it is our role to convert this distress into a fortune. So if whatever agriculture produce we are having, our necessity is fulfilled. Now we have to convert it into an intelligent art so that people will be getting nutritious food, they will be healthy, and there is less load on our economy for health management. So that is a role we have to do it as an agriculture scientist, or more precisely as a biochemist. So I just want to put two small examples by giving that how distress can be converted to fortune. A few years back, the coconut oil consumption was very much hit because one of the professor from Harvard University, she declared it as a poison. So there is a lot of hue and cry. We worked in collaboration with CPCRI Kasargod, and we refuted that claim that coconut oil is not poison. Their argument was that 90% of the coconut oil is having saturated fatty acid. So once we analyzed and we worked on it, we found that more than 52% saturated fatty acids are of medium chain size, which are metabolized in the liver, and they produce ketone bodies, which are a very good signal molecules and goes to the brain to help various mental illness. And that is why the virgin coconut oil is very much popular in the Western world for the management of the diseases like Alzheimer's. So this is where, as an oil, you say it is a saturated fatty acid, but if you come out with the nutritional facts that it can be a cure for Alzheimer's, then it is in the wellness industry. So we refuted the claim of the Harvard professor by giving a commentary in the current science, labeling it that coconut oil is not a poison. So this is one simple example that how on working on the nutritional or nutraceutical aspects, we can convert the agriculture produce into secondary products. The second example is on which we are extensively working is on pearl millet. So if you go back to the history of pearl millet, it is considered as one of the staple food from Neolithic times. So Neolithic people that time, they were intelligent enough, they were not knowing the nutrition that time, but they took pearl millet as one of their staples. In between, we lost the significance, and in between, we just heard that pearl millet is just a bird feed or it is just a poor man's crop. But if you nutritionally evaluate this pearl millet flour, you see that it is nothing but full of nutrition. It is full of iron and zinc. And when we characterize in our laboratories, it is having a very good type of carbohydrate, and it is full of fiber. And it is having the only grain which is having lipids, and that too rich in omega-3 fatty acids. So it has all the good essential ingredient of a nutrition, but still we are not promoting it as a food or health product. The reason is that there are certain limitations. Its shelf life is poor. We are not able to prepare the chapatis or bread very easily with this flour because it lacks the dough making quality. So once we worked on it and extended its shelf life by denaturing certain enzymes and by addition of gluten, we are able to make a dough making quality as good as of wheat, and we can have now soft chapatis. So we were encouraged, we started this work, and I am really thankful to my younger colleagues, Dr. Vinutha, Dr. Suneha, in collaboration with Dr. Shalini Gaur from Post-Harvest Technology. They are able to come up with this formulation of blending and regeneration of gluten in the bajra flour. And I'm really thankful to our director, Dr. Man Singh and Dr. Indramani Mishra. Initially, we distributed our sample to them and they have given their sensory evaluation report. Based on that, we are encouraged to go ahead and modulate it in such a way that it can be released as a product. I'm also thankful to Dr. Sangeeta from Extension Division. She also took our samples to the village people because it is important that we will get a feedback from ASHA workers in the village. So she took our product to Bagpat village and she got information or the feedback from those women. So based on these, we are able to develop one product which is very good in terms of the shelf life as well as in chapati making quality, which after a short time, our director is going to release that product. So these are just two examples which can help us to understand that how by putting the nutritional facts and the processing in place, we can make agriculture produce which is of very low value to a very high value in terms of health and wellness. So these are certain points which I want to mention in the initial remarks. So now I just want to convey that the definition of nutrition is changing. Initially, we just talk about that it is a carbohydrate content, lipid content, and protein content. But now it is a good carbohydrate and a bad carbohydrate. So good any grain or any staple which we are eating, if it is having a good carb, it means having more soluble or insoluble fiber. It is good for us. It is good for our gut. Gut is considered as a second brain, and microbiome in our gut requires fiber. So good carb and a bad carb. Similarly, the definition of the protein is also changing. It's not only the protein content. Initially also we call it as a quality protein, but the digestibility of the protein is also important, whether it is fully digestible in our body and gives us essential amino acids or not. That is the definition of good protein. Similarly, if you come to lipids, initially we were talking about lipids in terms of saturated fatty acid and unsaturated fatty acid. Later, we refined our definition and we also talk about the essential fatty acid like omega-6 and omega-3. And we just confined that it is good for our heart or not. But if you see the omega-6 and omega-3 ratio, omega-6 fatty acids are giving an inflammatory response in our body. So they have a role in defense. So this is what, whenever we are infected with some diseases, the inflammation is required, which is a defense mechanism. And omega-6 plays an important role. But once this inflammation becomes chronic, it is good to have an anti-inflammatory substances also. And you just see the beauty of biochemistry of fatty acids. Omega-3 is anti-inflammatory. So that is why in our diet now it is recommended that we should have a blend of omega-6 and omega-3 ratio. So once we are talking about lipids and fatty acid, and we were never imagining that they have a role in defense also. So that is why I'm saying the definition of the nutrition is changing, and all those nutrients, whether minerals, vitamins, and all those macronutrients, they are blended together in the form of a food matrix. So once they are in a different food matrix, their bioavailability differs. So that is how we have to work on in different composition of food to come up with the secondary agriculture point of view, so that the primary produced in a particular combination can give us a better product, better nutritious, healthy product, and give more price to our farmers. So this is, for that purpose, we all are working at the biochemistry division at IARI, and we are really blessed that we have our director, very supportive and very full of guidance to us, and congenial atmosphere to work freely in our department. So thank you, sir, for all your support. And I am really happy that Dr. Mehta is here, the person who has started biochemistry division at IRI, and all the students working in different, all his students or all the persons who has received training under him are now placed in different institutes. And today, most of them are joining this program. So I urge all the biochemists, please join hand to come up with this kind of information for various products, various indigenous crops, which only India is having, to come up with, develop a nutritional profile, and by blending, by supplementing, we can come up with various products which is good for our health and nutrition. So with these words, I welcome all of you once again in this function. I'm really thankful that you are sparing your time. And today I am hopeful that you all enjoy the combination or mix of talks, right from an agricultural scientist, food scientist, and a surgeon also with us from Primus Hospital. So with these words, once again, a warm welcome to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. As our chief guest is tied up with some pressing commitments, now there is a slight change in the schedule. So we will just move on to the release. As ma'am already mentioned that it's a product, which is a gluten blended bajra flour. We all know the nutritional and nutraceutical value of pearl millet, but it is having a limitation. It is having a limitation in chapati quality. So we developed by fortification with regenerative vital wheat gluten. And the fortification not only adds the protein value, but also provides the optimum viscoelasticity, a prerequisite for the dough quality. And the archaeological excavations in Hallur in Karnataka indicated that the pearl millet is one of the Neolithic staples, and hence this product is branded as Hallur. So may I now request Tachi to put the video which help us to more understand that how this technology was welcomed during the dissemination in villages. I think there is a small technical glitch. Yes, so now my request, Honorable Director, to release the product and to give the insight as a chief guest address.
So you will unshare your screen to permit me to show the packet that I have to release, you know.
Yes.
Unshare the screen, then one can see. Or maybe I can show in the window, that's a little smaller one. But if you can share, then I can show from here. Well, thank you, Veda, and I would like to compliment the Division of Biochemistry for taking these two, major initiatives. Okay, you can play if it works. Does it have voiceover, some commentary?
No, sir. So these are the glimpses shared by Dr. Sankita Extension while the technology was disseminated.
Okay, thank you, Veda, for that very nice presentation. Our teacher, Professor S.L. Mehta, who is very kind to be here with us, and there cannot be anything more pleasant for a teacher to see his student performing so well. I also see Professor M.L. Lodha, and both of them, they have built this division of biochemistry to international standard, and the colleagues now in the division, they are doing extremely well.
No, मैंने वो वॉल्यूम नहीं गया उसका.
चेक करना था पहले.
There is some disturbance happening. So I would like to welcome each one of you on my personal behalf. I must say I'm chief host, I'm not chief guest. I feel very uncomfortable when I'm called guest in my own institute. As a chief host, I extend a warm welcome to each one of you. And this program, I would like to say that Sally has been doing a great job. She started two very important programs. One was celebration of Hindi Pakwada, and the entire month, a large number of programs she organized in Hindi, very well attended. And also the Poshan Abhiyan, which began with a pledge by all the staff and the faculty members to keep their health as the top priority. And also there was a walk that was organized from the division to main gate, and with very good participation as a symbol that this is an integral component of our life. I see many people, Professor Srinivasan in particular, he is so punctual on his walk and takes care of health. Everybody should take. Even with some kind of problems, one can manage well if you are taking regular care of your health. So the nutrition, as you all know, is so critical to our health. And we have the problems of triple burden. We have problems of malnutrition, we have problem of hidden hunger, and the problem of obesity, where we have excess of diet. All these three problems are continuing. And there is, concern that the children who are today under age of 5, they may not live their own parents if they do not take enough care of their health. So this becomes very, very important. And diet along with exercise is a very integral component of maintaining health. And in that context, the division has been doing a very good job. Number of products that they have come out with on soybean, reducing its anti-nutritional factor, in pearl millet, quantifying the nutritional value, and making pearl millet like wheat in its chapati making quality. And this was one, idea that was so much liked. We had visit of our Minister of State for Farmers and for Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, Sri Kailash Chaudhary. And he was told about this and also the value associated with this interventions. If we take 10% gluten from wheat, mix it with bajra, you make excellent chapati that also has a very good puffing quality like wheat chapati. I have done it myself and I know the value and the softness. Even if you keep it for hours, it doesn't get hard. So in addition to that, the value conversion that happens to gluten, as the statistics that was given to me, the value of 1 gram of gluten is 1 rupee. And you get about 10% gluten from wheat flour. So that converts its value to 10,000. So you buy wheat for 1,850 rupees per quintal, and from 1 quintal of wheat, you make gluten alone of 10,000 rupees. And along with that, during the washing process, the starch that comes out of it, that has a value of around 50,000 rupees. So you get a value of 60,000 rupees per quintal of wheat, which you can buy for 1,850 rupees on MSP. Almost 35% of our wheat rots, it gets wet, and then it is channelized to wine and beer industry. Many times it happens by design. But if this kind of value addition happens by these little scientific interventions, it will be a game changer. The dream of the Prime Minister of doubling farmers' income by 2022, and that would not happen unless we double the export earning from agriculture, which is currently about $38 billion US, and this has to be taken to $80 billion. The contribution of agriculture sector, and this is all from agriculture, it has to come from agricultural export, and this kind of value addition, we'll have to look for the gluten market, how much we are importing. Currently we are importing and we are draining our foreign exchange. And plus, what potential market we can find where we can export gluten. So those are the kinds of analysis, and the minister was so happy that he has been after me. And Dr. Sally, he is not satisfied with the note that you have given. He wants a detailed plan, along with bringing the industry who is ready to take this kind of intervention and complete program in terms of value conversion, who will be the different stakeholders, what is the value conversion, and how we need to go ahead so much so that you need to identify the industry after talking to them and let the minister know that he can contact those industry partners to develop a complete value chain. So he's looking for the complete proposal, and I'm sure after we are free from this, you please do that and give it to me at the earliest possible. This product that was just released, Halur, the bajra flour, which is soft bajra flour mixed with wheat gluten. Again, you know, I am so impressed with the we can't show physically this packet, but the kind of designing of this, because this also matters a lot in terms of selling your product. The actual designing of this, the packing, the printing, the color combination is so good that it matches any international standard of food product. So this is the kind of packing we need, and I would like to see this kind of packing happening in our post-harvest technology division. The PST division packing are not so impressive. By looking at it, nobody would like to take it. So this is also a very important intervention that is required to be done if we want to project ourselves and let people feel the value of the product that we have developed. The manner in which the different components are mentioned, I would like that, you know, in future, the division should take up, the biochemistry division should take up a lead in, you know, preparing the complete nutritional profile of all the varieties that are released from the institute. For example, we don't have any nutritional profile for any varieties. We make so much of claim, you know, we are contributing 60 million tons of wheat to nation's granary. Out of 107 million tons, 60 million tons wheat comes from IARI variety alone, and that's true. It's a great contribution. Basmati, 33,000 crores foreign exchange earning. But if you look at our own data from institute, we don't have any data on what is the nutritional profile, at least those nutritions which are printed on the bag when they are marketed in the domestic and international market. So there are 12 parameters in rice which are required to be printed from the approval of the Food Safety Standards Authority. And with respect to those parameters, we must have complete nutritional profiling. The varieties which have been released in past, those which are released recently, this could be a major activity of the division to come out with a complete nutritional profile of all the released varieties in cereals, seed, pulses, vegetables, and that would really improve the value of the products that we have. So this needs to be done on priority. We have taken several initiatives in terms of identifying the potential value of the local germplasm in terms of nutrition. Dr. Sally has done analysis of the bajri from Rajasthan, number of land races, about 9 land races, and very clearly the data indicates that the rancidity is very slow in the land races, and probably identifying the genetic factors responsible for those low rancidity characters can be helpful in developing the pearl millet hybrids with high productivity, 35-40 quintals per hectare, but with no rancidity or low rancidity. So that's again a very important component. We are doing evaluation of 10,000 land races of rice. This is for the first time that we have in 5 acres area, 10,000 land races. These are named land races collected from different parts of the country. They were there in Gene Bank for very long. We took out this time, and we are doing this analysis with the help of a DBT project, where with respect to all nutritional factors also, while we are looking at biotic, abiotic, stress tolerance, the nutrition in particular, iron, zinc, and these factors also in detailed analysis, so that potential germplasm can be utilized and identified and utilized in the breeding program. The interaction among different stakeholders within institutes is very important. I think I find a very good move in that direction happening. The breeders identifying the germplasm lines, then nutritional profiling by the biochemistry division, post-harvest and value addition in terms of food products. So for example, there is huge demand. For example, today with so much of diabetic pressure in the country, if we ask for any breakfast cereal or breakfast item which is exclusively meant for diabetic, we don't have any product as of now. So branded product, I think that's the area I have been telling for quite some time. Our PhD people should look into this aspect, that we should come out with the products that are specific And then the bioavailability studies. For example, this pearl millet flour that has been produced, what is the bioavailability of iron, zinc, and various other parameters from this flour when we have added wheat gluten into this. And in that context, the bioavailability analysis with help of institutions like NAVI or National Institute of Nutrition, or maybe in longer run, we should think of having our own complete biosafety, bioavailability analysis lab, because that is very critical as a matter of fact. That should be also done. So this is one that will make the complete value chain. It is important to be done. The other thing that I have been worried about is, and I have been pleading in the policy front, that once we develop biofortified crop varieties, there has to be remuneration added to the farmers. Why, after all, farmers will cultivate that? Pearl millet, which has, say, 80 ppm of iron, or 40 ppm, 42 ppm of zinc. There has to be some incentive. And I was looking at the calculation. If you take the capsule in the morning for iron or ginkgowit for zinc, ginkgowit has become so common during the COVID period that anybody who has a mild symptoms like sore throat, doctor immediately says you take ginkgowit for 1 week at least. Now the zinc that you get from ginkgowit and the zinc that you get from pearl millet, which is a part of food matrix, and if you assign the value to that zinc, which has been enhanced, that was earlier, for example, say 30 ppm, it is enhanced to say 50 ppm, that 20 ppm enhanced zinc and 40 ppm enhanced iron. How much value it adds? The MSP of pearl millet still remains at 1800 rupees per quintal, and that is only based on MSP does not take into account fixing the price based on the nutrition that is present in the commodity. It is only fixed on the basis of the C2 plus 50%, not even C2 plus 50%, A2 plus FL. So the A2 plus FL is not the only basis for MSP. MSP should also be fixed based on the nutrition that it carries. And if we take mere iron and zinc into consideration present in the pearl millet, the value of 1 quintal of iron should be minimum 2500 rupees, not 1800 rupees. 700 rupees per quintal should be the gain. Now, if we do that, and if we ask a farmer that here is a biofortified pearl millet variety, you grow it, there will be procurement, there will be market segregation, and there will be value. And when it comes to market, immediately there has to be some procedure, faster and quick procedure, so that the mandi can check the presence of that particular component. Whether it is like in mustard, it is being done, in terms of oil content, fat content, that is possible in mustard, and based on that price is fixed. But for these also, even if it is heavy investment, one XRF machine in one mandi, so that people put their sample, they come to know what is iron, what is zinc, and those things are precisely told, and based on that price fixation happen, are the directions in which we have to really move, and that will really be a game changer in terms of popularizing these nutri cereals. All these coarse grain, जिनको हम मोटा अनाज कहते थे, हमारी थाली से दूर हो गए, क्योंकि हमारा ध्यान जो है स्वाद के ऊपर ज्यादा रहता है। तो इसके वजह से सारी समस्याएं हो रही, इनको वापस लाना है, और अगर वापस लाना है तो उन्हें हमें इंसेंटिवाइज करना पड़ेगा, जो लोग उगाएंगे। किसान नहीं उगाएगा जब तक उसको पैसा नहीं मिलेगा। ये सब कटु सत्य है। अभी मैं फैब इंडिया में गया था पीछे, तो 100 ग्राम की जो पीली सरसों का पैकेट रखा हुआ था, 100 ग्राम येलो सरसों, और उसका दाम जो है 210 रुपए था 100 ग्राम का। 1 क्विंटल सरसों का दाम 2,10,000 रुपए हुआ। पीली सरसों का दाम, उसमें कोई वैल्यू एडिशन नहीं है, सिर्फ उसको किसान के यहाँ से हार्वेस्ट करके, साफ करके, और बढ़िया पैकेट में, जैसे डॉक्टर सैली ने बनाया है, ऐसे पैकेट में भर दिया गया है, और उसका दाम फैब इंडिया के स्टोर में 2,10,000 रुपए प्रति क्विंटल, 210 रुपए 100 ग्राम का आ रहा है। तो हमें सोचना है कि हालांकि वो पैसा किसान को नहीं जा रहा है, किसान को 5,000-6,000 रुपए से ज्यादा पीली सरसों का नहीं मिलता है। तो ये सब चीजें हैं जिसके ऊपर की पॉलिसी के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से भी डिस्कशन होना चाहिए, और हम लोग यहाँ पे भी नीति आयोग में कई बार मीटिंग हुई है, और ये मुद्दा मैं बार बार उठाता हूँ कि इनका प्राइस फिक्सेशन जो है न्यूट्रिशन के आधार पे होना चाहिए, तभी इंसेंटिवाइज होंगे कि फार्मर्स इसको लगाएं, और उसके साथ साथ इसका बेनिफिट जो है जो कंज्यूमर्स हैं उनको भी मिलेगा। मैं आप सभी लोगों का इस कार्यक्रम में अपनी तरफ से हार्दिक स्वागत करता हूं। मैं देख रहा हूँ डॉक्टर भट्ट भी ज्वाइन कर लिए हैं, और बहुत अच्छे अच्छे प्रेजेंटेशन होने वाले हैं। सबकी लाइव रिकॉर्डिंग हो रही है। जितना मैं समय मिलेगा सुनूंगा, और नहीं तो फिर मैं रिकॉर्डिंग रहेगी उसको सुन करके अपना ज्ञान वर्धन करूंगा। मैं एक बार पुनः धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं आप सभी लोगों को इतनी भारी संख्या में इसमें भाग लेने के लिए। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Thank you so much, sir, for enlightening us in this occasion. Thank you once again. Continuing, we have one more release today, which is a special issue of our prestigious journal, Journal of Plant Biochemistry and Biotechnology, on advances in plant biology, impact of Arabidopsis research. So large-scale adoption of Arabidopsis thaliana by plant biologists across the globe has resulted in rapid advancement in unraveling several basic processes involved in plant growth and development. It also made significant inroads into almost all branches of plant biology. This special issue is edited by the very eminent Professor J.P. Khurana and Professor Srinivasan. Now, may I humbly request Mehta sir to release this special issue with kind remarks.
It's a great pleasure in releasing this special issue of Journal of Plant Biochemistry and Biotechnology on advances in plant biology, impact of Arabidopsis research. I would like to congratulate both Dr. J.P. Khurana and Dr. Srinivasan for undertaking this task and getting almost as many as 22 papers from all the experts in this area. Arabidopsis is like Drosophila for plant biologists. And with today, molecular biology, there is rapid advancement because of Drosophila, because of this Arabidopsis. And this special issue, which has come, which has lead articles from all experts throughout the world, will really help researchers and students in not only understanding the role of new biology, but also the kind of process which have been unrevealed, the kind of metabolic process which we now know how they are regulated, especially metabolic engineering. And therefore, it's really a great pleasure and thank all those who have been involved in bringing out this special issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So this was the first paper that is released in this special issue. So it's very interesting. Thank you, Prachi. So walking a mile ahead, under the able guidance, we organized and celebrated the Nutrition Month at IARI. I request my colleague, Dr. Vinuta, to share the glimpses and highlights of this Nutrition Month celebration. Vinuta, please.
Prachi, can you share the slides?
Wait.
Respected
Put it in slides,
dignitaries, yes. Respected dignitaries, invited guests, and all the participants, I welcome you all to the presentation on Glimpses of National Nutritional Month celebration. We all know that in India, the month of September is celebrated as National Nutritional Month to spread the awareness on nutritional needs, deficiency, and malnutrition. Considering this and highlighting the importance of nutrition, Division of Biochemistry has celebrated National Nutrition Month by organizing various activities related to nutrition and awareness related to nutritional needs. The celebration was initiated with a nutritional pledge by giving emphasis onto the healthy lifestyle for a future healthy and life. And with this, Next slide. And the event was organized, the hackathon event was organized, and wherein the scientists and students from various divisions they have participated and made this event successful. And this particular event was coordinated by Navita Bansal, Rachit Tagi, and Jannat. Next slide. And to nurture the social bonding and to have alertness in mind and healthy mental health, weekly program was organized, and this particular program was coordinated by Jannat. Next slide. The competition under Mission Nutrition Recipe Contest was organized by Dr. Monica Jolie, wherein the emphasis was given to an unconventional, non-conventional food grains, in which the various participants like students and scientists, they have participated from various divisions, and the best recipe providers were encouraged by providing a certificate awards. Next slide. And the Mission Fitness program was also organized, in which all the staff and scientists from the Division of Biochemistry, they have participated, and they have encouraged to maintain body mass index by adapting realistic nutritious diet and physical activity. Next slide. And also the nutritional facts of common and underutilized food grains, fruits, vegetables, and spices were also projected in the form of daily display nutrition board. Next slide. The weekly talks were also organized related to nutrition, obesity, and lifestyle. And the talks given by Dr. Archana Singh and Dr. Monica Jolie were highly informative, and these were highly appreciated by all. Next slide. Yeah, this is all from the glimpses of National Nutrition Month. Thank you all for your patient hearing.
Thank you, Vinita. Now, may I humbly request guest of honor, Dr. S.L. Mehta, President SPBB and our mentor and navigator of this esteemed society, for his special address.
Okay. Dr. A.K. Singh, Honorable Director of IARI, Dr. Rashmi Agrawal, Dr. Rashmi Agrawal, Dean and Joint Director Education, IARI, Dr. Shaili Praveen, Head Division of Biochemistry, Dr. Lodha, Dr. Man Singh, different heads of division of IARI, my very dear faculty members from IARI, students, and all those who are participating in today's valedictory function. At the outset, it's my great pleasure and privilege to congratulate Dr. Shaili and the entire team for organizing number of events in the month of September to mark this nutrition month. In fact, we are all proud that so many activities have been undertaken, starting from nutrition pledge to walkathon, to weekly talks, to having a competition for various kinds of recipes, utilizing underutilized cereals and other material, mission fitness, weekly bulletins, and so on. I think it would make anybody proud that in such a short time, you all have really brought out so many activities, and especially the way I've seen the posters that you made, the way they're beautiful. I think it's a mark of stamp of excellence in all that you have done. Also, it's really pleasing that Director IARI has released this Hellur as a soft bajra atta, which combines regenerative vital wheat gluten, so that chapatis remain soft. Also, it's nutritionally better. I think while we are celebrating this nutritional week, I wish to just take you back in memory lane. Division of Biochemistry was established in 1966, mainly to give thrust to three major areas. One was nutrition, another was molecular biology, and third one was interbody metabolism. Nutrition, of course, has a long history. Dr. Professor N.B. Das, our first head of department, he basically laid a strong foundation for nutrition. As a young student in IRA, I had audacity of asking him once. I said, sir, you have worked with two Nobel laureates, von Euler and Professor St. Georgi. Why did you come to this place? Because at that time, our laboratory was a very primitive one from our expectations. Then he said, Shanti, come and sit down. He said a few things which I want to say today. He said, when I came, there was nothing. So I started, because there was only Claire-Summerson calorimeter at that time. He said, I started estimating nutrients in grains. And then he published the paper at that time. So he said, you start with what you have, and you will be able to build one of the finest facilities over time. He said, Rome was not built in one day. And therefore, you will have chance to do that. And how right was his prophecy that the division has blossomed into one of the major nutrition centers in the country now. In the history of nutrition, we started from estimating nutrients in various varieties that were developed by IRA, and Professor Singh mentioned that all IRA new varieties developed should have at least information about the nutritional quality of this foodstuff, and I agree with him that this be done. But at that time, because there was no other major effort, so this was done. This then led to our major work on elucidation of the constraints for protein quality in cereal grains. And the division has distinction of working with OPEC2, with high lysine barley, high lysine sorghum. And we came up with a lot of information about why is this protein quality low. This was followed by another almost about 7 to 8 year period where we worked on lathyrus and developed one of the almost near zero BOA content lathyrus, and especially variety Ratan. Biochemistry has a distinction of releasing one of the variety named as Ratan at that time. And so we started with that, at least having, and I always say lathyrus is a golden crop. It grows under moisture stress condition, and in fact, you can get a very high yield. Professor Sinha, who was the director at that time when we were working, he didn't believe that lathyrus could be grown on residual moisture. So he said to me, Dr. Mehta, can you grow this lathyrus in Todapur farm? And Todapur farm doesn't have a single drop of irrigation water. And I said, yes, we'll do it. And Dr. Singh from agronomy, he came forward and we raised the crop of lathyrus in Todapur farm. And at that time, the yield obtained from lathyrus was almost 24 ton per hectare. And when he saw this, he said, now I believe, and then he really advocated that lathyrus can really be a boon for farmers in dryland region. And this then was followed. We developed facilities for doing digestibility studies, protein quality evaluation studies. And now I'm so happy that after Dr. Shelley took over, she has given a new dimension of how molecular biologists can also help in improving the nutritional quality, and especially picked up pearl millet, which is one of our millet group, and very high nutritional value, and then can really make a difference. The irony is that the latest nutritional data show that we still have over about 170 to 180 million people who are undernourished. This is despite the fact that we are now producing almost over 290 million tons of food. We are number one in vegetable and food production of over 300 million ton. There is no reason, if we can have a proper distribution and also proper awareness about food, that there should be under nutrition. But the data do indicate that there is still a very major problem, and this can be solved. And that's the major effort of the government now, that we should really improve nutritional standards of our people. Since nutrition is totally linked with not only immunity, and especially in today, with corona pandemic, it is most important that we improve on nutritional quality of our food. Now, there are two major segments of people. One who don't have access to food, which since they don't have access to food, they are undernourished, and that's where the major effort through PDS and through various government schemes that are now operative, which they made, and I'll come to that. The other part is those who are rich, who have more, and there the problem of obesity, the problem of overnutrition, or and these problems do arise because of consumption of a lot of junk food by children, and this obesity becomes in forefront. But more than that, it's also alarming that people are suffering from anemia. Large number of especially pregnant women, they suffer from anemia. And this, and as the Professor A.K. Singh said, if we have undernutrition or malnutrition during the early stage of development, maybe from first 1 year to about 5 to 6 years, then the whole brain development gets affected. And this cannot be remedied by providing better nutrition later on. And therefore, it is important that we care for this particular segment, especially the young children or preschool children. If we can take care of that, because if you look at the nutritional standards otherwise, so far as protein quality is concerned and calories is concerned, even if we provide enough cereal grains with a little bit of pulses, their requirements can be met. But it is the preschool children and young children who really are vulnerable groups, and this is where this has to be taken care. Now, our plant breeders are now, I see all over India for different crops, are trying to breed varieties which are biofortified. Already we have examples of like wheat, high zinc and iron variety, at least high zinc varieties have already been released. In case of other crops, the analysis has shown that we already have, for example, millets, which are very rich in various nutrients. And it's a blend of these millets with maybe wheat or other crops can really help to really improve nutritional quality, not only nutritional quality, but substantially improve the health of people. The women suffer from osteoporosis, even men today suffer from osteoporosis. We have a wonderful plant which is a drumstick. Drumstick leaves are very rich in calcium and iron, and so are the fruits. And it's only a question of putting this leaf powder into, mix it with the preparations that we make, that the calcium requirement can be made. It is also estimated that even if one woman takes 1 leaf per day of drumstick, the calcium requirement of the day can be met, and you don't need to take Shelcal or calcium tablets. So we have different kinds of foodstuffs in the country which are rich in nutrients, and the information need to be really given to people. We reviewed almost just about last week the work which is being done in millets, IIMR, and I wish to share that they have taken up on a very major value addition. 60 startups have come up in minor millets, which have taken up this because minor millets are rich, they are nutritious cereals, they have developed wonderful facility there. But more than that is the kind of effort which has been made, which is going to make a revolutionary change in the health aspects of our people. And therefore, we really, as a biochemist, it's our duty to really bring awareness to people. And the kind of bulletins and information that you projected here, I like to see that we should constantly hammer how blending of foods can really help improve nutrition of different segments of people. Although some of the articles do come in, but they are not backed by scientific data. And therefore, if we can back up our information with scientific data that are available, it can really make a major change. tomorrow, maybe even now, but I'm predicting that 5 years from now, ready-to-eat foods will find a very major market in the country. And therefore, for ready-to-eat food, I think at IRE we'll need to really expand our facilities. The division of food technology at IRE, in my view, still is a primitive one. And Professor A.K. Singh mentioned, he mentioned about the packing. I think we really need to make a very major investment and bring most of the modern machines for packaging and preparation. And I think if we have to really help tomorrow to develop this ready-to-eat food for tomorrow, then this will be important. Blended foods will be an important value chain for bringing higher income to our farming community will be important. And therefore, it's important for us that on one side, plant breeders can continue with their work on biofortification. The other side, biochemists and food technologists should strive to develop new recipes, new food, blended foods that can take care of particular problems of certain segment of population. We can take care of vitamin A deficiency, which leads to night blindness. We can really lead to remove the vitamin B deficiency. Mineral nutrition can be improved. And these are all problems which most people are not aware, but there are effects on human health. And therefore, any effort done by us would really help bring people from undernourished group to better nourished group. And I think we owe it to this country. Everyone owes to this. And with these words, I wish to again congratulate the entire group led by Dr. Shelly Praveen in bringing out and making an effort for giving a better food, better health for citizens tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the valuable insights on the need to bridge agri-food to human nutrition and tackling the under, over, and imbalance. Now it's time to felicitate the winners of the various activities organized during the Nutrition Month. Now may I request Prachi to share the PowerPoint. The first event, as Dr. Vinuta mentioned, was the Walkathon. Dr. Shruti, Principal Scientist, Food Science Technology, Dr. Sagar, and myself are the winners of Walkathon. The next event on meditation, Dr. Aruna Tyagi and Dr. Snehi Narwal, Principal Scientist, Biochemistry, IARA, bagged the first positions. The third was Mission Fit. Even though the whole division enthusiastically participated, the Google Fit shortlisted these two winners. So the congratulations goes to Mr. Shyam Sundar, AAO Biochemistry, and Mr. Shankar Kumar, PS2 Head, Division of Biochemistry. The fourth, Mission Nutrition, which was a recipe contest where the novelty as well as the nutritional value of the food was analyzed by the expert. Dr. Monica from Division of Biochemistry, Dr. Sankita, Division of Extension, and Mr. Sumit from Extension bagged as positions. And these are the pictures of the recipes also there. Congratulations to all participants once again for the spirit and enthusiasm. Even among the busy schedule, actually, they contributed a lot for the grand success of all the events. So now, as the valedictory session is about to get over, may I now request Shelly ma'am, can we move on to the next session?
Yes, Veda, we can continue with our talk and another session of 3 talks. We all are waiting to listen to our speakers.
Okay. So under the umbrella of Society for Plant Biochemistry and Plant Biotechnology, we have 3 exciting talks under the theme Nutrition COVID-19. And this webinar is, as mentioned, 5th in the lecture series. And we feel honored that we have Dr. S.L. Mehta, President SPBB, as the eminent chair of the session. and Dr. Bhatt, Vice President, SPBB, and Dr. Srinivasan, the Chief Editor of the journal JPBB, as the co-chairs. I now request Shelly ma'am, Head Biochemistry, to introduce, even though, as a gesture, I request ma'am to kindly introduce the chair of the session. Ma'am, kindly please unmute ma'am.
Dr. Mehta is our guru, so I am not feeling comfortable to introduce him. We all biochemists joining here in this meeting, and all the scientists coming from different division know Dr. Mehta very well. And in one class or another, we had a time to learn from him many things as a teacher. So it's not worth for me to, I cannot introduce him. And similarly, my words for Dr. Bhatt and Dr. Srinivasan. Dr. Srinivasan, another teacher, our best teacher in the area of enzymology. And we all were the students when he used to talk. And still he is teaching enzymology in biochemistry division. Dr. Bhatt, eminent scientist, we know, a well-known molecular biologist, and a very important, he's playing a very important role in our society. And he is one person who is taking really a great pain in organizing various meet where he wants to train teachers. And last August, in the month of August, he organized a very good meet where on the basic topics of molecular biology, the teachers of different schools were trained through this virtual mode. So his contribution is enormous in terms of teaching and training. So with these few words, I think everyone knows about all the chair and the co-chairs. So now I will hand over everything in the hands of Dr. Mehta to continue with the next session. Thank you, sir, for joining and accepting our invitation.
Good morning to everybody. Dr. Bhatt, my co-chair, Dr. Srinivasan, Dr. Shelly, and all participants to this symposiums and the talk that are going to follow. Let me say it's a great pleasure for many things. A great pleasure because Dr. Shelly has organized this special lecture series. This is the 5th in the series, I believe, and got a mix of speakers. Speaker from, one is a surgeon, one is agriculture scientist, and one is a expert on
I guess we lost connection with Dr. Mehta.
Let me say that I would say 2 years there have been a lot of Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Achha,
Sir.
achha. Sorry. Yeah, in between there was a disconnection. They all have really worked hard to take new initiatives. Dr. Srinivasan, especially as a chief editor on our request, has undertaken a very major task of helping us to improve the quality of the journal further. So I really would like to congratulate both Dr. Bhatt and Dr. Srinivasan, along with Dr. Shelly, who is secretary of the society, for continuing very many new activities. And the special issue that we just released today would be a very major milestone in promoting new students and new researcher workers in giving them latest information so that they can make another major advance. We would plan also some of the other activities. About this special issue, I wish also to tell that we decided only very lately about bringing out this special issue. And in a very short time, Dr. J.P. Khurana and Dr. Srinivasan did this job. So this was really wonderful. Now we come to nutrition, immunity, and COVID-19. And I think we all are looking forward to listening some of the expert advice on how to really save ourselves from COVID-19. You know, there are a lot of these days because of the social network, lot of advices coming from very many people, which sometimes are not backed up with the science, and therefore we are looking forward to hearing three of the experts. The first of the talk is going to be given by Dr. Felix Bast, Associate Professor, Central University of Punjab. He's a well-known expedition biologist who has discovered many algal species and identified new endophytic algae. Besides, he's a science communicator, a voracious writer in various science magazines, deeply involved in science education in schools. He is elected member in National Core Committee of INSA, INEAS, recipient of DST, INSA, Inspire Faculty Award, and Inspire Teacher Recognition Award. And therefore, I have great pleasure in inviting him to give a talk on nutrition myths. Dr. Felix, please.
Thank you so much, Professor S.L. Mehta. I listened to your exciting talk this morning. It was absolutely fantastic. Thanks a lot for introducing me to this program. And also I thanks Dr. Veda Krishnan for inviting me to this program. And I'm really excited to be spending next half an hour or so with you all. And yes, so and also congratulations for your walkathon award. It's great. And yeah, I want to say that you were very active in our YSL series, Young Science Leadership series, where Veda is actually mentoring many students. And also she gave an exciting talk, which is accessible in our site. So with this introduction, I would like to go directly to my talk. Allow me to share my screen. Yeah, this one is a little bit early. We are starting, so I've asked many of my friends to come in. So no problem. It is available in the YouTube. So today's talk is titled "The Nutrition Myths." This is actually all about the popular myths about the nutrition, which is very much prevalent in our society. And as Professor S.L. Mehta just said, the social media, the prevalence of the social networking and the social media is one of the main reasons why this fake news is being spread. I have written extensively about the post-truth, alternative facts, and fake news in media as well. So first is this is basically the recurring theme coming again and again in the media is all about the immunity booster. What is all about? So there are a lot of purported immunity boosters which are spreading in the social media, especially in WhatsApp. Many people say it's itself is a university now. So lukewarm milk or nimbu pani with turmeric, ghee, amla, honey, dry ginger, tulsi leaf, jaggery, coconut oil, mint. Any combinations thereof. For example, lukewarm milk with jaggery and tulsi leaves, or nimbu pani with dry ginger and honey and amla, or lukewarm milk with ghee and turmeric, and coconut oil with nimbu pani. Oh my God, it's a lot of combinations and permutations. And does it really work against COVID-19? If you really look at the social media, if you follow it, because I'm also privileged to be part of the Inside COVID, that is Indian scientists responsible for COVID-19. ISRC, which is an award-winning organization to fight the fake news, through which I came to know a lot of myths and fake news and propaganda advertisements, which is very common in the market. For example, you can see the bond is a very common bread brand here in Punjab. New Health is a very common brand now that they have released immunity boosting, because they just added some of these herbs, namesake herbs, and the modern, quite famous, the bread brand has released immuno bread. And because of so many complaints that recently they retracted this product from the market. The modern did it, but Bond did not do it. Immunity booster might have so many such products available in the market, especially in the online stores, or Chawanaprash, any kind of Chawanaprash claiming to boost your immunity, or immune boosting tea, so all these are quite expensive, and does it really work or not? Even there's so many marketing propaganda which is not exactly about the nutrition alone. For example, portable air sterilization card. I'm really surprised here in Punjab. One of my friend is, I met her daughter, son and daughter wearing this one. I just asked, what is this? Is it an ID card? No, it is basically a virus inhibitor. They claim it as inhibit virus deodorization, as if deodorization is it is a scientific term. It's, this is what the pseudoscience is all about. They come with a technical sounding jargon, purportedly scientific, but it's nothing to do with that. And this kind of portable air sterilization card is very common in Africa these days. Even African politicians are spotted wearing on their neck. Does it work? It doesn't, friends. Even this is Economic Times news, new hope of neutralizing COVID-19 indoors. This is, I'm shocked, really, literally shocked by hearing that there is a new product in the market. It's called hypercharged Corona Cannon. Look at that, the fancy sounding word. Hypercharged Corona Cannon. And do you know who marketed it? Eureka Forbes, one of the very famous brand in Bangalore. They marketed this as a Corona Cannon. And, they are not revealing what it is all about, because they say the trade secret, and the funniest thing is that it's only for Indian market, because we are so gullible to be cheated by this marketing propaganda. And no, of course, Corona Cannon is not available in the Europe or Japan or America, because their law enforcement is so much stringent. Friends, we are simply getting cheated. And does it stop over there? No, even sari, herbal boosting, immune boosting saris are there, marketed in Madhya Pradesh, MP. And this is a very big advertisement in the Bombay newspaper DNA a few months back. It's a mattress. They just added some of the turmeric and tulsi leaves in it, and claiming that it is anti-coronavirus mattress, Arihant, 15,000 rupees. And there are people, of course, coronavirus is a life-threatening disease, and people spend money. They don't care about it. They spend money for, if they can, it can protect you from getting COVID-19. Friends, these are nothing but marketing propaganda. Joseph Goebbels is a very famous, Holocaust survivor and Nobel Prize winner. And this is what the Nazi propaganda tactic, which he shared later, the Hitler's tactic, is that if you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. This is exactly what you call the lie, the propagation of the lie. So illusion of truth. That is also known as illusion of truth, is a cognitive bias. So immunity booster, what is the consequence of all these immunity boosters? Because people who take these herbal immunity boosters and pseudoscience products are in a false sense of protection, which is really alarming. They think that they are protected, and then they go out to the public places without following any government advisories, including wearing masks or maintaining the physical distancing. They mingle with other people, they get COVID-19. And friends, 80% of these COVID-19 patients are asymptomatic. They don't have any symptoms, but still they are highly infectious and infects others. It's just like HIV/AIDS. Only very few viral infectious diseases are like this, asymptomatic but highly infectious. AIDS also the same thing. You will never know that you have an AIDS unless you get tested yourself. So what we must know that mild disease or asymptomatic after 2 weeks successfully recovers, yet dies in a few weeks by silent attacks. This kind of myocardial infarction is getting really common among those people who successfully recovers. So COVID-19 has a lot of complications, friends. It's not just the mortality or morbidity rate gives you the picture. Even after you recover, you're in a very high serious state of morbidity. So COVID-19 is invincible. That is a fact, that we have to accept it. Even super fit athletes and cyclists, Olympic cyclists, and even the Tour de France winners are getting suffered with the COVID-19. And many sports people have died from COVID-19. If they die, then why not us? The land of immune boosters is disappointing at #2 in the world as of now. India is at #2. It's a shocking revelation, and we really have to work together. While countries with no such immune boosters are way much better. For instance, Japan, look at that. Japan don't have any this kind of purported immune booster in food. New Zealand, Western Europe, or even Pakistan. Pakistan also don't have this kind of immune boosting propaganda in their market, but still in the race. Yes, I am really glad to share that my good friend, Dr. Gagan, he is our sports officer. He's a national level boxer. I'm telling this story because he is a very well fit and he is a super young. It's only 40 years, and we lost him last week only. 2 weeks ago. We lost. He's a yoga instructor. He's he's so much into yoga. Still, look at that. Even the super fit sportsmen can die out of COVID-19. And by the way, Gagan's story is again the same thing, recurring theme, that he actually recovered from the COVID-19. He came back home and then silently died of myocardial infarction. And even his death will not be taken as COVID-19 death. Because these are actually, comorbidity, which is not usually considered to be the COVID-19. So this is actually what is happening in the nation. Even mild infection is really dangerous. So what science says about immune boosters, we have only 2 ways to boost our immunity, friends. One is, of course, get infected and successfully recovers. That is also, of course, we really have no clue who recovers and who do not recover, who get complication and die, and who recovers it. So successfully means that at least he recovers from the immediate danger, but still the person's, the cardiovascular health is complicated, lifelong. So lifelong ischemic implications and why mortality rate is meaningless. I just told you, crude mortality rate itself makes no sense. Even after recovery, people dies. After a few weeks or months, we have to wait and watch what is actually happening. And that is exactly why the herd immunity is impracticable. So our only solace is not just India, but many of the countries who have done very less to the, the citizen, they were only hoping the final solace is the herd immunity. Everybody will get infected, and so that we are, indirectly protected. But that doesn't work because COVID-19 is a life-threatening disease. Had it been chickenpox, yes, herd immunity might work. It works for the chickenpox or rubella, but for this COVID-19, herd immunity is meaningless because it's a life-threatening disease. And second way to boost our immunity systems, the immunity against certain diseases. Again, it's not really boosting, so it's a way to go, right? We are, of course, the scientists are working day and night for getting the vaccine. So probably within a few months, the vaccine might come. So these are the only 2 scientific or evidence-based method of getting the immune boosting. So immune boosting, is it really good artificially boosting your immunity? No, it's not a good thing because immune overactivity is dangerous and life-threatening. So because a boosted immune system is responsible for autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis, psoriasis, multiple sclerosis, type 1 diabetes, that is insipidus, lupus, allergies, and so on, and they really have no cure, these autoimmune disease friends. So boosting your immunity, first of all, mind, it doesn't work, and even if it works, it's dangerous and it's not at all a good option. So what we can do to ensure that we have an immune system and prevent COVID-19, we just have to use common sense. That's it. For example, rigorous exercise and ensure adequate sleep. So exercise, cardiovascular, cardio exercise like running or cycling does help to get you, to maintain your good health. And lower stress level, that's really important because if the stress levels are really high, then the immunity is lower. And eat healthy, but less quantity. The quantity is really important. If you eat more, then you are more prone for many kind of diseases, And of course, the best option is that if you drink, stop drinking immediately. That one decision can save, it can actually prolong your many years into your life, Or if you smoke, stop smoking. If you can incorporate these 2 changes to your life, you know, you can actually live much longer, and your immune system is going to be much more stronger. And of course, safe sex is very important. You know, it's just like mask for COVID-19. You know, you can actually use many methods of the safe sex for preventing the STDs, because a compromised immune system is prone for infectious disease like AIDS. And latest evidence, 2 weeks back, the paper argues that the vitamin D may reduce the seriousness of the COVID-19. So vitamin D doesn't, help you to prevent getting the disease. That is, it has nothing to do with immune boosting. You know, it's not like a vaccine. But if you are having adequate vitamin D, then the severity of the COVID-19 infection will be much lesser. That is what it says. So you can either go for supplementation, but I will not recommend it. The best option is to get your skin exposed to sunlight. You know, especially, you know, in the earlier times, I used to think like, that is what I also read many places, that early morning and late in the evening is the best time for getting vitamin D. Now, recommendations have changed recently. Nowadays, people say that noon time, you know, the 12 o'clock till 2 o'clock, that time is the best time, because you really need UVB irradiations on your skin so that your body can produce vitamin D, not in the morning or evening, but right in the lunchtime. And there are a lot of fat gimmicks and propaganda, PR propaganda, not related to the immune boosters, of course, like detox diets. I'm sure you all have heard of what is this detox, like detoxification, food, drinks, supplements that cleans our body, like, you know, the herbal green tea. You know, of course, I love green tea, but I'm not drinking for the detox effects. So detoxification, as if our body is full of toxins, you know, you're harboring full of toxins like a snake, a venom, right? Friends, it's all nonsense. It's all propaganda. We have only 2 organs, you know, that does the job very well, like liver and kidney. Of course, the liver does the most of the work, and kidney also does most of the detoxification, at least, you know, removal of the non-essential items in the water system, right? So if you have these organs, then you're pretty fine. And if your organs doesn't work because you drink a lot of alcohol and you completely wreak havoc to your liver, you get liver cirrhosis, then only one option is not detox food like this kind of advertising gimmicks, but you need a transplant, liver or a kidney transplant. That is the only option we have now. So please never trust Instagram or Facebook or WhatsApp health advices. Exactly, I resonate the advice of Professor S.L. Mehta. The social media is full of bad advices. More advertisement gimmicks and PR propaganda, for example, copper. You know, the drinking and this kind of copper water bottle is really good for your health. No, friends, it's not. Copper or brass vessel. I'm from Kerala, and we traditional food is basically prepared in this kind of uruli. We call it as uruli, the brass, the vessels, or copper vessels, or even so the bronze vessels too. So these things have got copper, and copper, friends, is a neurotoxin. Science have repeatedly said that copper is a toxic substance, and it is linked with the diseases like Alzheimer's disease. It can go and make the plaques in your brain. So copper, eating food in copper vessels might be still okay, but cooking the food in the copper vessels, never do that. Of course, you can use, if you like the fancy of copper, then you can use like copper bottom steel vessel. Because the food is directly touched with steel. Because especially if you cook acidic food like tomatoes or lime, or any preparations with vinegar or curd in it, because acidic food can make these copper vessels leach the copper and mix up with the food. Of course, copper is antibiotic. Yes, I agree that copper is antimicrobial, but not for your human body. Copper, in ancient Indian style of architecture also, we used to have the door handle with the copper. It's a good practice because door handle is a formite for microbial infection. The infectious diseases spread through the formite. So making door handle with copper is a great practice, but not for eating or drinking. So of course, it's a lot of advertisement. I mean, I can spend hours and hours talking on this myths and fake news. Any kind of advertisement that claims to be superfood or panacea is nonsense. Like spirulina is, so they say it as a superfood. organic spirulina tablet, the daily superfood. No, it is not. They say spirulina has a lot of protein. Of course, the soy chunks also have a lot of proteins. Why you want to go for spirulina? Well, I work on algae. I'm a phycologist, and still I'm saying that the algal product spirulina is actually it's simple trick and tactic just to make you money for this supplement, which doesn't work. Or superfood greens and fruits, or the blueberries, kale. And so on. There's so many of the superfoods, or almonds, walnuts for the brain health, because it looks similar. The brain and the walnut, it is something called cognitive bias called pareidoia. The human tendency to see the patterns which are non-existent because there is a shape similarity. The advertisement propagandists say that these almonds are really good, it boosts your brain power. No, friends, it doesn't boost. Even brain wave itself, the Deepak Chopra's statements are all doesn't merit any scientific attention. Almonds are very expensive, so as walnuts too expensive. How about peanuts? Peanuts are equally nutritious. Poor man's nuts, peanuts. Why not? The peanut is so good in proteins, and if you look at the nutrition profile, is almost identical, and there is no point in spending too much money, exorbitant money. But if you like the taste, then why not? But if you're claiming it to be a superfood, doesn't merit any attention. Or kidney stone, Philanthus neruri, the plant. Many people say because it actually grows on the rock and it crushes the rock. Of course, many plants can actually crush the rocks and even concrete. Like figs. The seeds can crush through the concrete. So eating figs is good for crushing the stones in your kidney. No, even kidney stone itself is a misnomer. Basically it's a renal calculi, and there are so many different minerals constituting the calculi of the renus. The renal reticuli of the kidney. So it is calling this a stone crusher, and it crushed the kidney stone is simple pseudoscience. Now coming to very exciting topic of turmeric and the magic amulet called curcumin. Many advertisement people say it is a cure cumin or solid gold. So propagandists claim that the turmeric is a superfood plus a panacea. Panacea means it can cure any disease. Any kind of disease like cancer or AIDS or even COVID-19. Turmeric is purported to be the best cure for COVID-19. Does it work? There are 6,000 papers, friends. If you search in Scholar or ISI, knowledge base, you can see almost 6,000 papers on various bioactivities of turmeric and curcumin. And most on cell lines and microbial culture and EC50 values are really high, like in micrograms per ml. So actually it doesn't have any clinical significance. And much more than that, the question here is that, the bioavailability of curcumin. So meta-analysis, many of the meta-analysis on the curcumin concluded that the curcumin is non-bioavailable compound. It doesn't actually enter to our system. Then what is the point of it? This is one of the very major study published in 2017, the Essential Medicinal Chemistry of Curcumin. It's a meta-analysis in ACS publication, the Journal of Medicinal Chemistry. And the conclusion, let me read out. The manuscript reviews essential medicinal chemistry of curcumin and provides evidence that curcumin is unstable, reactive, non-bioavailable compound, and therefore a highly improbable lead. And still, it is basically improbable lead or, the panacea. And still people believe in these myths. Friends, this is my favorite quote by Carl Sagan. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. That is all about the p-values and hypothesis testing, right? If you really want to prove something extraordinary, then you really need a 5 sigma threshold, like boson or levitron. In particle physics, the p-value, the threshold p-value is with 5 digits. In biology, it's usually 0.05. So this hypothesis testing, of course, the p-value is also much criticized aspect, but still, you need to provide high quality, extraordinary evidence to substantiate such tall claims like panacea. Of course, I do have I'm associated with the Ministry of Education, former Ministry of Human Resource and Development in Swayam platform. I have a course, Biostatistics and Mathematical Biology, and it's still open for enrollment. Please, I think most of the reviewers of this program right now are scientists. So if you know some students in ICAR, please advise them, suggest them to take this course. I made it really simple for the biology students. It's still open for enrollment. Well, how about bitter gourd for diabetes? Another very common, claim, especially here in India, that the bitter gourd juice is great for diabetes. It cures the diabetes. And many people swear by the claims that the bitter gourd juice is highly effective in managing diabetes. By the way, friends, in science, there is nothing called belief. You believe or not believe, it doesn't matter. Science is immaterial of your belief, So mind that the global diabetes prevalence ranking, India tops the list. Unfortunately, this is a case in the land of immune boosters and all this herbal supplementation. We are the top of this diabetes rank as well. Again, if you look thousands of papers on the subject with quality of evidence is really poor, So I keep on saying papers are serve mostly these two purposes, majority of papers. One is that if you don't have a job, it will help you to get the job, and if you have a job, the second thing that the paper does is if you have a job, it will help you to get a promotion. That's it. So otherwise these papers are really meaningless. So meta-analysis were conclusive in rejecting such purported claims. So for example, the gold standard in evidence-based medicine is Cochrane reviews. I'm sure you know it. So if you look at the Cochrane reviews, the Mormodica charantia for the type 2 diabetes mellitus, there is insufficient evidence on the effects of the Mormodica charantia for the type 2 diabetes mellitus. So, these claims have been invalidated. And I suggest you to go to a fantastic website. Information is beautiful. You can just Google it. Snake oil supplements information is beautiful. You'll go to this site. It will show you different kinds of supplements with its scientific evidence. The y-axis is actually drawn with the efficacy. So scientific evidence. So here it is a very strong evidence. For example, coffee against heart disease. We have so many high quality evidence for it. Or fish oil or omega-3. In pregnancy, there is a very high evidence. At the same time, fish oil, it doesn't mean that fish oil or omega-3 supplements is really good. No, the same supplement for coronary artery disease, it is not strong. So it actually gives you very interesting way. It's informatics, it is basically the data in data visualization tool. And if you click on it, you can actually see that the meta-analysis, after meta-analysis, of course, you can check out the curcumine or bitter gourd juice, all this kind of purported supplementation in it, My general take on the nutrition is that don't go with very expensive food like trademark diets or organic versus normal, non-GMO versus normal, detox versus normal, superfoods, all these are expensive stuff, Just go with normal one. These are simple advertisement gimmicks. Imported exotic food like Californian apple or Washington state apple, so the cosmic crisp, that is what the media is all crazy about, new variety developed by Washington State University, cosmic crisp apple. So people are ready to spend so much money for getting that kind of apple. It's meaningless. So seasonal indigenous produce is so much cheaper and much better. So fancy restaurant menu versus home cooked wholesome food. It's much better to go with the wholesome food. So diets are all advertisement propaganda. For example, paleo diet, keto diet, Duncan, Atkins, gluten-free. Gluten-free is good if you have the disease, celiac disease, then you have to go. There is no other choice. But if you don't have celiac disease and if you're well and fine, then there is no point in going for gluten-free for ensuring the proper nutrition. Organic itself is it's a big propaganda, friends. It's substantially more expensive, but very little scientific evidence to support organic food is more nutritious. So multiple meta-analyses have concluded that it's inconclusive. The evidence is inconclusive. And similarly for GMO versus non-GMO, profiles identical. So there is absolutely no point in going for a non-GMO, certified non-GMO, just for the sake of the GMO. The propagandists are always everywhere. Yesterday I wanted to buy one, this one aval we call it. It's basically poha. So you can see that Hubballi Avalaka. It's a very famous brand, and you can see that if you look carefully, 100% chemical-free organic This is what the company claims, 100% chemical free. Friends, is there anything 100% chemical free? I was a part of Indian Antarctic mission. Supposedly the most pristine, cleanest water in the world is Antarctic oligotrophic lakes. And are these lakes, are these chemical free? No, it is. There's nothing. The whole matter in the universe. So I have a YouTube channel. I keep on releasing so many of these kind of videos. One of the video is, it is something like a bait, fishing bait. Please support my campaign to ban a nasty corrosive chemical in junk food. And do you know what is the name of that chemical in the junk food? Hydroxyc acid. So will you support my campaign to ban this nasty corrosive chemical? That is what I said. And many people said, yes, we will support it. So hydroxyc acid is a nasty, I said, corrosive chemical. And what is this actually? There is another name for this corrosive chemical. It's basically water. There's another name for hydroxyc acid. Is nothing but water or dihydrogen monoxide. Even the school students can able to trick the politicians, because many people, friends, are scientifically literate. Scientific literacy and the real literacy are different. So there is this kind of fear, insubstantiated fear against any kind of chemical. It's called chemophobia. This is also a recurring task, and this is this is a bait for the advertisement propagandists. They claim it as 100% chemical free. Another very interesting example would be Ajinomoto or MSG, that is monosodium glutamate, that provide the flavor called umami, the meaty flavor. So by the way, this monosodium glutamate, many people say it's a highly toxic chemical and let us ban it. And for a brief time, Western countries have banned it. They thought that it's a nasty chemical in junk food, but scientific research have found no significance in such claims. Because MSG is actually an analog. It's basically a naturally occurring in tomatoes too. Glutamic acid is a amino acid. It's a salt of amino acid. So if you eat, the tomatoes with a bit of salt, if you cook it, so it's going to have that. So monosodium glutamate is nothing but a chemical compound. Naturally occurring amino acid, the sodium salt of it. So it is nothing to do with the chemical, the nasty chemical. Or coming to the junk fast food itself is very interesting. The story is quite interesting. For example, recently the Kerala leftist government, they imposed 14.5% fat tax on the junk food. Wow, fat tax on junk food. Very interesting, isn't it? And how did they define which is junk or fast food? They said anything Western is fast food. Indian foods are not fast food. Like burger, pizza, donut, pasta, spaghetti, the sandwich, whatever the rest sounding, American sound or the Western European sounding things are all fast food. Friends, again, that is a cognitive bias. This is stupidity, basically. It's nothing like that. Fast food or junk food has nothing to do with the origin. So the three conditions for the fast food is one is high GI. So glycemic index is extremely high. Like white rice is a fast food, basically. White rice, if you eat white rice, chance of developing, diabetes is significantly higher. White bread. So biryani, for example, is a white rice, basmati. That is what, if you really want to tax, you should tax the restaurants selling the white rice or, the biryani selling restaurant. Can you do that? Or food with trans fat. Indian food, many Indian foods contain the trans fat. For example, samosa, kachori, bhattura, vada, jalebi, and food cooked in vanaspati oil, dalda, almost 100% fried street food is cooked in dalda because it's really cheap. Is the government can prohibit it? No, they just want to do some political. This is happening in the world actually. Ultra processed food is also a junk food, friends. Ice cream, cake, biscuits, chocolate, any kind of biscuit in the market you get. These are all fast or junk food. Or even the French fries are fast food. So another interesting myth is body fat is because of the overconsumption of the fatty food. Deeply ingrained to our mind that if you eat a lot of fat, you become fat. Or if you're a fatty person, it's not because you're eating a lot of fatty food. No. Body fat is mostly because of the high carbohydrate, high glycemic index diet with sedentary lifestyle. And also the body fat has to do with the genetics. It's a very complicated story. And you cannot simply say that it's fat causes the body fat. Or table sugar causes or is bad for the diabetes, another ingrained myth. Of course, table sugar doesn't cause the diabetes. So diabetes has more to do with the white rice and white bread than the table sugar, and also with the genetics. It is not that you eat because you ate a lot of sugar, you develop the diabetes, mellitus. So that is incorrect to say that way. And if you have diabetes, you cannot eat sugar. No, it is not even that. But more importantly, control the white rice. That is what many studies have shown, that the white rice and white bread is a very important risk factor for the diabetes, and also overweight, especially your belly fat is correlated with the diabetes. And a little bit of alcohol is healthy, good for heart. It's like 1 apple per day, one drink, 1 scotch per day is really good. It's a healthy for your heart. You might have heard this myth, right? It's 100% pseudoscience, friends. Alcohol, even little bit of alcohol is injurious to the health, because alcohol is an addictive drug. It's a psychoactive drug. You should stay away completely. That is the only healthy option. Even 1 drink per day is not good. It's scientific evidence is conclusive to say that alcohol is a toxin. It does harm to your liver. So only moderate. Red wine has some that is also not inclusive. The French paradox, you might know that. People in France and other Mediterranean countries, they consume a lot of fatty food, but still coronary artery disease is less. Why? A lot of things, because of course they are very active in their life. That could be one reason. So statistical corroboration is another important thing, right? So correlation doesn't mean causation. That is another thing. So it is inconclusive basically. But if you really want to get resveratrol, you don't have to drink red wine. You can get the coronary protective effect of the red wine. Much better option is to get eating the red grapes with the skin, or peanuts with the skin. Peanuts also have resveratrol. You just see that here. Harvard Health Publishing, so many of the papers you can see here. Diet rich in resveratrol offers no health boost. Most of these claims are simple advertisement gimmicks, especially conflict of interest, because most of these claims are basically funded by the wineries, wine manufacturers, because they want to sell the wine. Another thing is, you might have heard, breakfast is the most essential meal of the day, as if it's an ancient wisdom. Friends, it's nothing to do with ancient wisdom. It's an advertisement propaganda actually introduced by Kellogg. So the Kellogg is an American businessman, the same guy who actually made this Kellogg's cornflakes, because he wanted to sell his cornflakes. So he invented this myth that the breakfast is the most essential meal of the day. No, it is not. If you skip breakfast, nothing is going to happen. So milk is an essential food, especially for bone health in women. Another myth. No, milk is not an essential food. If you look at carefully throughout the human evolution, we were not milk drinkers. Only very recently we started drinking milk. And a lot of countries, they don't drink milk at all. For example, Japan, because 95% of Japanese are lactose intolerant. And are they suffering a lot of osteoporosis or bone fractures, especially women? No, they're not. So in contrary, consuming a lot of milk will actually lead to the osteoporosis, friends, because milk do contain endocrine disrupting chemical, especially milk sold in here in India, because it is actually packaged in packet milk. I have covered this in my YouTube channel, many things. For example, this video, dairy is not essential for humans, actually say all about this particular myth. So pseudoscience is also, a big factor for many of this nutrition myth. For example, food becomes toxic during eclipse. It's a hardly ingrained to our mind. So during the eclipse time, we don't eat anything. No, it doesn't merit any attention from rational thinkers. For example, I lived in Japan. I did my PhD there. That's why I'm just saying Japan many times. I lived in Western Europe, in Germany, and Scandinavia also, and US too. Any of these countries, friends, they eat, they drink during the eclipse. And are they actually being dead? They're suffering chronic, the diseases are common in those countries? No, it is simple myth. Food becomes toxic when cooked by women on periods. Another myth. That is why during my childhood days also, I was born in a Brahmin family in Kerala. And I know that in the family prevailing situation is the puratakal. Puratava means the ladies on periods, they actually go out. They live outside the house. They have a small makeshift arrangement. They don't even live inside the house. It is complete superstition. It's a myth, but still people hardly deeply ingrained to our society. Pickles get spoiled with fungi when touched by women on period. Another myth. The pickles get spoiled. When women on period get when you touch it. Complete myth. And today morning I was looking the internet and I could see that a site isha.sadguru.org. That site is saying what happens if you sleep towards the north. So if you sleep towards the north, if you place your head to the north and stay that way for 5 to 6 hours, the magnetic pull will cause a pressure on your brain, and your brain is going to explode with a cerebral hemorrhage if you sleep towards north. Come on, it's a big time superstition. I don't understand why the superstition is so very ingrained in our society, friends. And such myths are not there in West or in East. Japan is an Eastern country. They love their country. It's not westernized society, and still such myths are not there. They are sleeping towards north and they are not having any health issues. Why is like that? But religion do have certain good flip side. For example, repeatedly religions say eating less is being advised. Don't eat more, eat less. Our Bhagavad Gita and Vedas advise it, right? Fasting is good. Not just in Hindu fasting, even Muslims do fast. Christians also do fast. So religions do have some good flip side. Fasting is good for health because it helps the microbiome in our stomach to regain back to the normal state. So many interesting studies have shown, even for diabetes, fasting is good. And traditional food, fermented food and steamed food, of course, these have got its own merit. One good example would be dosa and idli in South India. The fermented food do have, like probiotics. It do harbor so many interesting microbes. And wild food and foraging, it's something, a skill which is completely missing in India's society, today's postmodern society here in India. But it's really getting popular in Scandinavia. I've been there in Sweden and Norway. In Denmark, they're really interested in foraging. Foraging is basically go for a wild hike and pick the wild berries and wild flowers and eat it. So that is common in India, in the classical times. And also wild food like millet. Professor Espeta in the morning talk as well, he emphasized millets. Of course, millet is very important, but not many people are nowadays consuming millets. I do. Ragi is one of my favorite thing, for my breakfast. Sometimes I eat breakfast. Yeah. Drumstick is a wild food. And gongura in Andhra Pradesh, gongura, fiddlehead fern in Uttarakhand, and Himachal Pradesh, fiddlehead fern is really interesting. Basela in Kerala, wild colocasia leaf, we use it in earlier time. Unfortunately, nowadays things are really changing. In Kerala, there used to be a traditional, a practice of Dasha Pushpa, 10 wild flowers. All these 10 flowers have got medicinal properties. Wild fruits like jackfruits, which doesn't need any maintenance, or even millets are really good wild. But unfortunately, nowadays, every attention is for basmati rice, right? And white rice and white flour is complete, the capitalistic market is complete, flooded with this, the food. We are actually not really looking at the olden time. The ancient wisdom is really good. Or Sarpa cow, this is a picture from my own village in Kerala. So sacred groves of Kerala and Northeast are centuries-old biodiversity reserves, friends. So it's a cultural asset of India. We really need this kind of, the Sarpa cow, that is basically Naga, basically these are groves, sacred groves of Naga. It actually relays a very strong message of conservation of our biodiversity. And having lived in Japan, they don't care which direction they sleep in. And the size of our Uttar Pradesh, the Japan is of the same size of Uttar Pradesh. Yeah, they want 28 Nobel Prize winners, friends, recent times. If you including the Japanese people living abroad, 47 Nobel laureates Japan has produced now. And Japanese eat noodles and consume a lot of MSG, monosodium glutamate. And they don't use any turmeric or bitter gourd or ghee or jaggery or milk, even milk. They don't drink milk or curd. Or amla in their diet. And there is no alternative medicine in Japan, no homeopathy, Ayurveda, Unani or Siddha. Yet, friends, they live the longest in the world. Average life expectancy in Japan is 84.10 years. And this is the same thing in Western Europe as well. Most of the European countries, especially the Mediterranean countries or Scandinavian countries, same thing. They don't care which direction they sleep in, and no such herbal immune boosters. So the key takeaway from the Japanese or Mediterranean diet is that eat less, a lot less. The portion size is really important. Eat very less so you can live longer. Repeated studies, chromosome telomere length have shown that if you eat less in rat studies, no? If you feed rats only once in 2 days, rat telomere size reduction is much slowed down. Basically, aging. It has something to do with aging. Eating less will make you younger, friends. Not eating more. A lot more raw foods, but less fruits. Again, fruits, another advertisement gimmick. Fruits are not at all good because it has got lots of sugar. Eating little bit for taste is okay, but fruits, overeating fruits, it will actually increase your belly fat. The risk of developing type 2 diabetes is pretty high. And but some food is nutritious when cooked. So it's not that eating raw is the answer. Some food, it all depends on the science. Evidence-based science is really important. For example, tomatoes. Tomatoes, if you eat raw, the lycopene is a chemical moiety in tomato. It will not get absorbed to the body because it is a fat-soluble substance. So if you want to actually get something out of tomatoes, never eat raw. Don't add into your salad, but instead you cook with a bit of fat. You can use mustard oil, very healthy oil, or rice bran oil. You don't have to buy a very expensive imported olive oil, which has a very high, this carbon footprint also. If you adhere a sustainable way of living, our own mustard oil is absolutely fine. And if you cook it with a little bit, the tadka, the Punjabi style tadka is absolutely fine. And eat vegetables with the peel. That is what the Japanese and Mediterranean style. Carrots, potatoes, cucumber, peel. But you might wonder then, how do we get rid of the nasty pesticides in it? You can actually soak it in salt and even the baking soda for a couple of minutes. It actually help to get rid of the organophosphate chemical residues. So less or no sugar or no high GI food. Always go for a low GI food, complex, the wholesome carbohydrate. Less salt. Instead, use mild spice to bring the flavors. Steam cooking the vegetable preserve the flavors and nutrients and lowers the carbon footprint too, because it saves a lot of energy if you steam cook it. Rather than pressure cooking or boiling, steam cooking is so much faster. And eat fish or less or no red meat. So red meat is not good for either for the planet or for your body because it has got lots of trans fat. And for all these red meat, if you avoid it, it's really good. And fish is good for the health because it has got a lot of omega-6 and omega-3. But supplementation by omega-3 and omega-6 through fish oil, the cod liver oil capsule doesn't do any good. So you have to eat fish. Well, I'm preaching, but I don't follow this advice. I don't eat fish, but I know that what science says is that eating fish is good. And I'm a vegetarian, not because vegetarianism is really good for the health. No, nothing like that. But I'm a vegetarian because vegetarianism is really good for your environment. It's a part of my sustainable life because the carbon footprint is so much lesser for vegetarian food. So another really important approach is something called via negativa approach, the philosophical approach of the ancient Roman approach. Via negativa is basically we can bring in so many goodness just by avoiding things, taking out of the risk factors from our life rather than deliberate interventions. We really don't need any special surgery. So avoid alcohol, for example, itself. If you drink alcohol, stop drinking. That one decision can bring in so much positive change to your life rather than thinking that, okay, I have a lot of bank balance, so a little bit drink is okay. And I also have a medical insurance. So in case my liver goes bad, I will go for a liver transplant. No, that is a highly complicated solution. So adhere the simple solutions into your life, rather than going for unnecessary complications, So, so that is exactly what you call the Occam's razor concept in philosophy. Occam's razor is all about if you have multiple explanations to the same theory, go for the simple explanation. Simplicity is always good. Minimalistic life, sustainable living. This is what I always say. I always do in my life too. So, ultra processed food, avoid it. So any food or drink not in existence for last 1,000 years. That is actually, that is basically the a famous quote in my favorite book, the Anti-Fragile. So this is the quote is that any food or drink not in existence for last 1,000 years is highly likely to be ultra processed and innovation. For example, most of the Indian food, if you look traditional Indian food like millet or ragi or dosha or idli, I'm sure it is in practice for last many centuries, But if you look at, again, the drinks, if you look tea or coffee or even wine is in existence for thousands of years, But I will never advise you to go for wine because wine contains alcohol. Alcohol is a very well-known psychoactive substance and it's an addictive drug. So high glycemic index food, anything just avoid, completely avoid. If you have white rice in your pantry, finish it off and then don't buy white rice. Simply go parboiled rice, so much better, the brown rice. And it is so much cheaper as well. If you go to the local grocery shop and if you get a parboiled rice, is way less expensive than the ultra processed basmati rice. White bread. So white bread, instead of white bread, you can go for brown bread. But unfortunately, whatever available in the market, like multi-grain, atta, brown bread are most advertisement gimmick, friends. I know it very well because even the brown bread sold in Scandinavian countries are with the color. They don't use the real addictive. There are so many interesting studies have been on that line. So if that is happening in such a high human developed index countries, it is happening here also. So if you really love bread, the taste, I suggest you to do home baking. So you have finer control on the ingredients. I bake my own bread. It's not that difficult task, and it's also good for self-sustainability. The Atmanirbhar Bharat, our Prime Minister is always asking us to follow that, right? Self-sufficiency. I completely support that, the philosophy of self-sufficiency. And any food with the trans fat, for example, samosa, jalebi, kachori, just stop it. Stop eating any fatty food on the street also, because they use dalda oil and it has got lots of trans fat, very bad for coronary artery health. And reduce the following: fruits, milk and dairy, and sugar and salt. Both sugar and salt, reduce it. And milk and dairy also, reduce it, because milk, I've repeatedly said that the milk that you buy from the market is not safe at all, because it is actually in the packaged food. It is basically in the plastic wrapper, and the plastic contains a lot of endocrine disrupting chemicals like BPA and BPS, and this has got several diseases like PCOS in women, polycystic ovary syndrome, and sexual dysfunction in men too, erectile dysfunction, there are so many papers. I have covered this topic again in my YouTube channel. Fruits too, reduce the fruits. Instead of eating lots of different fruits and increasing your risk of developing, diabetes, simply reduce it. Eat only one portion of fruits per day. So toxic synthetic chemicals not banned in India. Of course, there are several toxic synthetic chemicals. Unfortunately, these are readily available in the market. For example, BPA, bisphenol A or bisphenol S. So avoid food in plastic containers. Any kind of food, friends, avoid it. Milk in plastic packets, tea in paper cup. Can you follow it? These are really difficult, but if you can follow it, then you are actually increasing your life, quality of life. You don't have to go to the hospital during your sunset years. Because these plastic containers are a lot of cancer-causing chemicals, friends. Because the plastic containers sold in India, even big brands like Milton, do contain BPA, because bisphenol A is not banned in India. Or plastic packets. Or plastic containers are like a return gift. Again, please stop it. If you have kids, if you go to the kids' kitty party, the birthday party, people simply buy the cheap Chinese-made plastic, the containers, lunchbox. Stop it, please. It's your neighbor's health. It's our Indian health is important, right? Your neighbor health is also important, like your baby health, right? So these are really, really risky. So, by the way, BPA is banned in a number of developing countries, like India, it's only developing countries like Sri Lanka, our neighbor, or even Thailand, has completely banned BPA. But here in India, unfortunately, BPA is not banned. There are several such papers in current science, Indian Science Journal. If you read it, I have linked up in my YouTube channel also. BPA should be banned in India. Unfortunately, industry pressure is too high not to ban the BPA because BPA is so cheap to produce. So that is why never trust any plastic food container that you buy from Indian market. If you really need a water bottle, plastic water bottle, get it from Western Europe or Japan or the US, because their law enforcement is really stringent. And also the Teflon cookware, I featured in recent YouTube video in non-stick cookware. It's not the Teflon. Teflon is, of course, plastic. But Teflon as such is not a problem. It doesn't cause any cancer. Most of these claims are nonsense. But Teflon do contain, during the production time, Teflon do contain a chemical called PFOA, that is perfluorooctanoic acid. And perfluorooctanoic acid is banned in US and Canada and Western Europe or New Zealand, Australia or Japan. But unfortunately, in India, PFOA is not banned. So if you're using any non-stick container, even if from a very famous brand like Prestige, chances are very high that it has got PFOA, and PFOA is linked with a number of cancer, including prostate cancer, and several of the thyroid dysfunctions. So I covered several of these videos in my YouTube channel, including the nutrition during the quarantine and PCOS, sexual disease, diabetes and thyroid with milk packet, consuming the packet milk. And for health's sake, please avoid plastic water containers, another video. And recently, fact or fiction, is Teflon is dangerous to health. So all this video, please have a look. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to spend this time Nanni in Malayalam. And this is my YouTube channel, bit.ly/BASTF. bit.ly/BASTF. Please go check out some of my videos. Thank you so much and open for discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Felix, for a wonderful presentation. I think it has cleared a lot of nutritional myths. I also believed on a lot of things that you have said. Curcumin is very good, it boosts your immunity. But I find from your talk that a lot of things that we believe are not based on facts. So I think, I'm sure for all listeners, this must have cleared a lot of myths about, not starting from COVID to what you have said for nutrition in different food products. And I think we are a little more wiser now than before. And I hope we are able to have better health by removing some of these myths from our mind. Your talk has been brilliant. I think supported by evidences from various sources. And I think take-home message is believe on science and hardcore evidences rather than go by this. And there are a lot of myths, many myths, because of brevity of time you did not cover. But I think for marketing propaganda, as you said, all companies do that. Unfortunately, we don't have a law for punishing such market propaganda. Without evidence, and you see all our role models, including people like Amitabh Bachchan, or a lot of people promote the sale of products without basis. I think you should fight for getting law that can punish people who do wrong propaganda in the market, because people go by this propaganda. And I think another good message from you is that we should look at these ad gimmicks and propaganda. Especially WhatsApp is today really bad. Every day, everybody sends messages, forwards one after another without even looking at. And I think a lot of people believe, and especially women at home, they believe more. So you are always under pressure to believe what goes by, especially for
I think Professor S.L. Mehta got disconnected, but doesn't matter. I agree with his points. Yeah, I didn't cover many of the points. Yeah,
thank you very much. Really,
thank you, sir.
It's an eye-opening for all of us, and I think good advices that you have given about how to have more immunity, especially to fight against COVID, will go well with everybody. And once again, thank you very much for an excellent talk.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Next speaker is Dr. Nitin Singhal, scientist from Nabi, Mohali. He is an expert in nanoscience and is one who is developing formulations to ameliorate deficiency of micronutrients, especially iron, and unraveling basic aspects of iron deficiency, immune activation, and anemia. He is a recipient of Fulbright Nehru Academic and Professional Excellence Fellowship. He did Masters from IIT Roorkee, PhD from IIT Mumbai. I have a great pleasure in inviting him to deliver talk on micronutrients, the small building blocks of nutrition, utility, remunerations, and beyond. Dr. Nitin Singhal, please.
Thank you,
hello.
sir.
Yeah.
Can you listen to me?
Yeah, audible.
Okay. So, Dr. Vinita, can you share my slides?
Yeah, sure. Dr. Nitin, can you see the slide?
Not yet.
Can you all see the slide?
No. Something else is coming.
Your screen is
Gmail
being
account
presenting.
No?
Yes, now it is visible.
Okay. Visible as slide? Dr. Nitin?
विनुता, डॉक्टर नितिन शायद ऑफलाइन हो गए, उनको एक बार कॉल कर लीजिए।
slide to share it. I think you can come online now. Can you see the slide? Okay. 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 Yeah. Okay. 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 Yeah. Please, you try with your phone only. Yeah. Please. So he's getting disconnected every now and then. So he's trying through phone now.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yes, Nitin, we
Yeah,
could able
audible.
to hear you. Yeah, you're audible now.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Mehta, sir, for a nice introduction, and IRI team to give me a chance to say something about nutrition. So, as Dr. Mehta introduced me, like I'm a not like expert, but I'm a person from the nanosciences. So when I joined Nabi, I joined to develop the sensor for foodborne pathogens, which we are doing in the lab currently. But along with this biosensor, we are also working on micronutrition aspect, because that time it was the need of the hour, and DBT asked us if we can make some formulation for iron thing, and so we started some work like 6 to 7 years back, and so we gained some knowledge in between this 6-year time. So I'm giving some general thing like how macronutrition works, how the importance, and how what they can do, and what type of macronutrition is generally present in the food. So actually, as Dr. Felix Boost discussed about the type of food, I'm talking about the like food contents, like what type of food content is there, basically the different type of foods, and what macronutrient we get. So you can go to next slide, please. Hello. Yes. So as macronutrient, like so first thing is, what is macronutrients? So macronutrient, as this word described, macro means small, and nutrient means the nutrient what we get from the food. So micronutrients means like the quantity, the nutrient which is required in the minimum quantity or minimal quantity, that we call macronutrients. So it doesn't mean like they're required in micro quantity, but when they play like diverse roles, and they have some very diverse function. So if you have any deficiency of any macronutrient, so your system can feel like a lot of difficulties if you have any deficiency of any macronutrient. So I listed some of the macronutrient here, like what type of elements are under macronutrient, like zinc, manganese, iron, copper, and etc. So so we defined this elements, or this elements in the macronutrient category. So out of all this, I'm working basically on iron. So I'll define like which is how many type of macronutrients we basically deal with, and what we generally do here. So go to next slide, please. So this is the role of macronutrients. So macronutrient can play a diverse role, like they can do a role in enzyme activity, they can have a role in genetic control, they have role in cofactors. They have cofactor for many things, and then they do electron transfer or the electron carrier for many systems to work to fulfill the requirements. So if you go for first example like zinc finger, so zinc finger is why we call this finger. Nowadays, finger is very common term because nowadays this China issue is going on, and they say like the finger. So the fingers are very recent term. And then when we talk about zinc finger, so zinc finger is nothing but because they have shape of fingers, so that's why we call it zinc finger, and it's have a zinc metal in it. So that's why it's become like zinc finger. So what is the role of zinc finger? Zinc finger is a small protein motif, and is play diverse role in the system. So main function is in the zinc in the transcription. Like if zinc finger transcription function doesn't happen in the proper way, so the homeostasis of a person can feel many difficulties. In the second example, you can say cytochrome C. Cytochrome C is present on the mitochondrial surface, inner and outer, and they have iron as a macronutrient element present in their core. So when you have cytochrome C, it can transfer the electron from inner surface to the outer or outer to inner to complete the respiratory system. So this is the thing, like cytochrome C, zinc fingers, and this SOD systems, they all play a major role in homeostasis of the system, and they all completed by the macronutrients. So this way you can understand how the micronutrients are important and how nutrition is important, because this macronutrient ultimately you get from the food, which is come under like the theme like nutrition. So if you are getting good nutrition and good food, you will get all type of minerals or macronutrient, and you can have better function in your body. So next slide, please. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir. We could able to hear you, sir. It's getting disconnected, it seems, every now and then. Yeah,
So
sir,
my
please go.
okay. So first I talk about the like one of the macronutrient called iodine. So you know the iodine is very like common term because you have salt which contain iodine like Tata salt and all. So the iodine is very essential macronutrient. So if you don't have iodine in your diet, so you can have so many difficulties there's a called like a thyroid problem, the brain problem in the brain for proper functioning, and then there is a problem in the pregnancy, and then there will be a infertility or sterility if you don't have iodine properly in your food. And this is a listed. I list some food which have high amount of iron, like sea salt, watercress, cranberry, spinach, coconut oil, broccoli. So which can give you a proper iodine iodine requirement which you need for the food. So if you include this diet, broccoli and coconut, broccoli is very common nowadays in market. So if you include this type of diet in your food, then you can have iodine, and you have salt, which don't take salt which don't have iodine in it. So if you take salt from the market, please be sure that have iodine in it. So that way you can have some amount of iodine from the salt also. Next slide, please. And then we go like very famous micronutrient, which is zinc. And same like I listed for iodine, I listed here for zinc. So this is some common food which we can add in our diet, and like cheese or like almonds or walnut in our diet, and then we can get proper zinc from the our food. If we don't have zinc, like we can have low blood pressure, low body temperature, nerve damage, diarrhea, and skeletal system which is abnormality, and the growth will not be proper, and person can be a short height person if you have iron, zinc, or zinc deficiency in the food. Next slide, please. This is not very common micronutrient. Like people don't talk much about this selenium, but selenium also very essential micronutrient which we need for proper functioning of the system. And then you can see like for selenium mostly come from the non-veg sources. So generally people who don't eat non-veg, they generally have deficiency of this selenium, because generally selenium come from non veg sources like chicken, turkey, fish, and so if you have if you add some green leafy vegetable, that can give you some selenium. So this green leafy vegetables is also necessary in your diet if you want if you want selenium for your food. And this is I listed some of the disease or abnormalities when you don't have proper selenium in your food, like liver damage and your sperm motility, and skin will be scaly skin, like you will be have lining on your skins, and there are so many other type of damage to nervous systems, to your thickening of your wall of the brain, and then this lead to other problem also in your system. So you have to make sure like whatever food you take, you should be combine of all everything should be present in your food, like whether it's zinc, selenium, iron, or iodine. So it should be a mixture of all the macronutrients. It should not be like have only one macronutrient and deficiency of other macronutrients. So if that way you will not like making the sense, like you are not making your food complete. So when you're making food complete, it means complete food means complete nutrition means you should have all type of macronutrient in your food. Can you go to next slide, please? So as I'm working on iron, so I'm more comfortable with this metal iron. This iron is very common in leafy vegetables, in rolled oats, in pizza, in meat, in chickpeas, in peas, and it's found in both in the veg sources and non-veg sources. But there are difference. Like I'll tell you what is the difference between the iron from veg source or vegetable source, or iron from non-vegetable source. So and then everybody knows, like if you don't have proper iron, then the most common deficiency occur is anemia. Like anemia is all related with the blood systems and circulations, and so is when you have blood thing, then it's involve everything, like your respiratory system, digestive system, muscles, skins, and spleen, heart, everything. So whatever you talk, like iron deficiencies lead to everything, like stunted growths, and your less brain development, less digestive system functioning, respiratory system is not proper, because iron involved in many enzymatic process also. So iron is very out of all macronutrients. Iron is also very necessary macronutrient out of all macronutrients. So this that's why we are focusing on this iron, and I'll tell you what we are doing when we go to next of the slides. So please, can you go next to the slides? So this is one of the thing, like how iron come. Like as I told you, I'm going to tell you how iron differs from vegetable source from non-vegetable source. So generally, what when you take dietary iron means whatever diet you take and you get iron. So if your diet is non-vegetarian diet, so you get heme iron, So heme iron is you have core, and the iron is trapped, chelating inside the this core. And non-heme iron is you get from the vegetable sources, like which leafy vegetable and all. And as we know, like heme iron is more bioavailable and available to our body for absorption. Non-heme iron is not that much available, because heme iron is directly goes inside the digestive system, the absorption system, and it go inside, and when it's go from apical side. So heme iron is taken up as an intact, and then it's degraded by the heme oxygenase. This HO1 is heme oxygenase. It's degrade the this core, and then iron come out. And but when you have the non-heme iron, which is come from the vegetable sources, so you see that iron is first convert to the soluble form from Fe3, which is a oxidized form and ferric form. And when it reduced to like Fe2, which is ferrous form, then your dimetal transfer, like channels, DMT1 channels, can absorb the iron from outside to the gut, and then it's come in circulation inside the, like, then you make a pool of iron. Like you can see inside, like there's a pool of iron. This both coming from the heme sources or non-heme sources. Then you have common pool, and then it can go to the ferroprotein. Ferroprotein, the only channel you can see in the basolateral thing. Apical is for absorption, and in the down, if you can see down, there's a FPN. FPN is nothing but ferroprotein. The ferroprotein is a channel which transport iron from gut to the blood system. And you can see blood is transporting the channel, is transporting the iron through transferrin. So this is the thing. And then in the right side, you can see hepcidin, which is the third type of thing. The hepcidin is the thing which controls the iron from the gut to the blood. How is control? Like just hepcidin bound to the ferroprotein, and they degrade the channel. So hepcidin is a peptide which bind ferroprotein. So if you have excess of iron is coming in the body, so how you control? Excess of iron is also not good. Like you should not have excess of iron in the body, and you should not have minimum iron in the body. So what do? You have the nature made a system like peptide, hepcidin. So when you see, like when your body feel like iron is coming more, so what it do is release hepcidin from the liver, and hepcidin go and bind to the ferroprotein channel, which is the only channel which can channelize iron from your gut to the blood. So it's degrade the ferroprotein, and that's way you're stopping from inside to the blood. So that way you can maintain the homeostasis of the iron. So this is the way. So go to next slide, please. So this is our we write one review, and from review, this is one figure we made. So this upper thing is gut, like brown. I am not good with the colors. Maybe orange. So the orange thing you can see, like this is gut, and the iron is coming gut to the blood system, and you can see the RBC is floating in the this thing in the system. So this green thing is containing the iron, and is from blood system is distributing everywhere, like to the hepatocyte, from macrophages to the bone marrow. So what bone marrow does? Bone marrow make the new RBCs. So RBC is required to carry the oxygen. So it's all interrelated. Like if you don't have iron, you don't have proper oxygen thing. So this is a thing we made in our review. So after publishing some paper in in the iron research, we made this type of review, and I'm sharing one of the picture of my review in this slide. Next slide, please. So please click 1 or 2, 3 times. Yeah. So this is one more time. So this is the IDA. So IDA is nothing but. Oh, sorry. Go back. So IDA is iron deficiency anemia and its consequences. Like we shows how the different factors matter. Like you have demographic factors, you have dietary factors, and you have social physical factors. So if you have in demography, what comes like the age factor, the gender, and the other parameter, like whether it's immigrant or whether it's other things, and then dietary factor is whether you have low iron is coming from heme, or whether it's coming from non-heme sources, and whether you have low vitamin C presence in your system, whether you have this extra tea, you're taking extra tea and coffee, because if you're taking extra tea and coffee, you get more tannin and more caffeine, which chelate the iron, and it's not available to the source, your body. So that's why this factor also matter. And then if we have fat diets, if your diet don't have good sources, a good micronutrient quantity, then that also matter in your system, like how your system gonna react, whether you're gonna have anemia or not. And in the social and physical factor, like whether you are poor, whether you are alcohol user, whether you have gastrointestinal tract disease, or whether you're in the depression. So this is a social factor. So if you include all, and all factors are working, then you have very high risk of anemia. And other two factors are working, then this, according to this demography change and dietary factors, you can say like whether you have more chances of IDA or less chances of IDA. And this in the right side, you can see the consequences of IDA. So which is, we already told you, like if you have less deficiency of iron, then there's maybe many consequences which involve fatigue and anemia and in the inability to carry oxygen, which is already explained how, like if you don't have iron, why you can't carry the oxygen, because you don't have RBC, proper number of RBCs, and the healing ability will lose, and you have like chronic infections and the other things. So next slide, please. So this is how many deaths we see in India every year. Like this is the data from 2015. So around 45,000 deaths occur in 2015, because I didn't get data from this beyond 2015. So this is the number of deaths occur in the maternal condition. So because of iron deficiency. So if we can if we can address, so if we can address the issue of this iron deficiency, then we can make the like world a better place to live, and we can save many lives in the near future. So please, next slide. So this is why we have this iron thing. Like if we can take iron as a supplement, you say, like we can solve the issue of iron like easily. Like we can just take iron tablet and then we can do we can solve the problem. But it's not that easy. Like we think like just take iron from the supplement. Like I'll take iron tablet, and then the iron deficiency will be solved. But it's not like that. Like you can't take this thing like that straight. If you take the iron tablet and then you just somebody take the iron in the night time, and if you go to the like to go and get fresh, so you can feel like things are not like as proper. You are black because iron come out from the system as such, because most of the iron body doesn't absorb. So that's why you get you get the you don't get the iron, because most of the iron get precipitated in the system, and you don't get the iron whatever you require for the proper functioning of the system. And you have many issues like with the system, like you have stomach, nausea, diarrhea, dizziness, vomiting, dark stool, and constipation when you take iron as such, because this iron can maybe overloaded and maybe not absorb fully, and it not the excess amount of iron can get you like give you like harmful bacteria in your gut that can give a stomach ache, and maybe the different issue can come. And the like when you take iron outside iron as a tablet source, so it's not bioavailable, so there's no use of taking iron as such. So there's a like people are working on this aspect to make iron bioavailable and more ready to take as a iron supplement. So what people are doing, I'll just discuss it and then I'll say what I'm doing to make it more bioavailable. Please, next slide, please. Just click through time 2 times here. So this is the report, how people are if you see, like, then they publish in scientific report, like if you take oral iron as a supplement, then this can elevate means increase the bacterial growth in human serum. So your human serum have more bacterial growth. So this can give you other complications when you take iron as a supplement. And then when you take, when in the second paper in the PLOS one, you see when people are taking ferrous sulfate as a supplement, they are getting GIT tract side effects in adults. So and in third paper, the iron fortification of food for infant and children in low-income countries affect the gut microbiome. So as I'm telling you, there are some like good bacteria and bad bacteria in the gut. So if you take iron as a supplement, direct supplement, that can alter the ratio of good to bad bacteria. And then you have more bad bacteria compared to good, and that can cause more complication compared to earlier. So go to next slide, please. Next slide. So this is the cases of this is a sorry, go back please. So this is the case. Go back. Yeah, this is the case of influence of gastrointestinal side effects when you take ferrous sulfate, which is very common iron supplement formulation, iron sulfate. So you can see the cases, GI side effect cases with that supplementation of iron sulfate. And this is a publication, you can see like different publication which they reported, like when you give ferrous sulfate as a supplement, as an iron supplement, you have different GI side effects. So this is well proven, like you can't take you can take iron sulfate as a iron substitute, because it's because iron sulfate have a high energy power. It give iron and sulfate can make like acidic condition, and then your iron got precipitated, and it can give the side effects in your GI. So this is the issue. And then please next slide. So what people are doing, people are actually fortifying the food with iron. So for fortification of food with iron, they are implying like different strategy how we can fortify the food. Like they can make iron salt or elemental iron. They can encapsulate the iron in some hydrogels or in some coating or in some oil or some emulsions to protect the iron from the oxidation, and then they can deliver the this macro encapsulated iron. They can fortify the food with the macro encapsulated iron, and then they can give as a supplement to the person who is iron deprived or anemic. And in the next they can have some microionized iron and nanosized iron. So I'm going to tell you more about like how this encapsulated iron, because we are also working on encapsulation, because I'm a person of nano. So what we do, we make some hydrogels, and we protect the iron formulation inside the hydrogel, and then we mix with the food and see how much anemia we can cover with this. And second thing is like if you are fortifying your food with iron, so there's a food metrics. So if you have food metrics which have there's some enhancer of iron absorption. Basically, your whatever iron you give, only 5 to 6% iron goes in the system. The rest of the iron goes out as a precipitated material through the stool. So there's some enhancer, like it can go from 3% to 5% bioavailability if you have some enhancer, which is ascorbic acid and other type of acids, which can increase the solubility of iron, and you can have more bioavailable iron. But have you in place of this one, if you have some other which is like inhibitor, like phytate for polyphenol caseins, so they can chelate the iron. They can reduce the bioavailability. So depend upon your diet, like whatever food metrics you are taking, the iron bioavailability changes. Whether you're taking the good metrics or whether you're taking bad metrics. So this depend upon your choice of food. So if you are making fortification with a good food, then you have more bioavailable iron, and if you're making bad food choice and taking iron, then it's it's a vice versa. So depend upon that, you can see that what population we are targeting, maybe pregnant women or women's infants, children's athletes. So this type of population we are targeting, which can have more prone chance of have anemic condition. So because pregnant women and like they lose a lot of blood and then they have they require a lot of iron. That's why we can try that population for our experimental purpose. Next slide, please. So this is the thing like how this is a thing like how iron work and how we can do it. Like if you have water soluble iron and you have iron which is less soluble in water, like ferrous sulfate is more water soluble, but if we have iron which is more water soluble, so it can give it always not good. Like you have water soluble iron, so it's because it's water soluble, so it's more prone to oxidation. So it's a little bit you see the biology is low. If you go down to the table, you can see the biology which is showing is less. And we are using in our research we're using compound which which are less soluble, like ferrous fumarate or the compound which is chelated with some with some metal already, like a sodium like ferrous EDTA, which is very famous for like as a additive for children food. So this sodium iron EDTA is is generally accepted as a food iron supplement. So, but it's why we are trying to develop other alternative sources like encapsulate ferrous sulfate or encapsulate ferrous fumarate, because we want to reduce the cost. But because we are targeting the population which may be the poor population, so if you use chelate compound, the overall cost of the fortified salt will be high, like as you can see in the table. But if you use encapsulate form of the iron in the hydrogel or in myceli, that can give the cost reduction in the overall cost reduction, and that can make better iron fortified salts. So that we are trying to make. Next slide, please. And then this is how, as I told you, in type of iron, one is nano iron. So how people are making nano iron, they are precipitating a phosphate with the iron and then finally crushing it in the nano form. So nano form iron is more available, as you can see in this one. When you give this nano formulation iron mice to the mice, so anemic rat, when you have generated the anemic condition and you give to this nano iron to the mice, the repeated rat condition is generated. Like this iron, the mice have now goes to normal, like hemoglobin from 5 to goes to 10, which is like near to normal condition. So if you can make some nano formulation, nano type of iron, and then finally you get the rat, which is our experimental animal. We get this is not like actually I take this from somewhere, some research paper. This is not my research, so they are finding it more useful compared to the regular iron sources. So when you give this nano formulation to normal mice, you see like this is a marker like FETUN marker, FETUN B. So this can be a marker like when you're giving the excess iron, this goes down. Like so you can have both, like in the normal condition, if you give iron and it's going excess, and you see marker like FETUN marker, this going down means you are giving excess iron, and when you have anemic condition, you're giving nano iron and it's coming to the hemoglobin normal level, then it's okay. So you can check the marker as well as the hemoglobin level. So if you see, both the condition will be normalized. So if you can consider both of them. Next slide, please. So this is next please. So so this is our research, like what we are doing. So actually we are working on two types of anemia. We are working on iron deficiency anemia, on deficiency of iron because of inflammation. So people thought like we are eating iron, and so if we are eating good iron, and so that will be enough for our food. So sometimes what happens, like sometimes someone body is under inflammation. So when we have inflammation because of any reason, because in India, like we have so many conditions, which is like bad condition, and most of the population of India is under inflammation. So that inflammation can generate hepcidin, like a lot of hepcidin. And as I told you, like hepcidin not good for iron absorption, and it's go bind to the ferroportin channel. So it's degrade the channels. When it degrade the channels, so you don't have channel basically. So it doesn't matter you whether you're eating the iron or not eating the iron. Whatever iron you're eating, it's not going in the system because you don't have a channel, because hepcidin already degraded your channels. And you see, like the only channel available in the system is ferroportin, which can channelize your iron from gut to the blood. So if you don't have any channel, so the whatever iron you're getting is go out of your system. So what we are doing, like we are making some inhibitor of hepcidin. So we screen some library and we find one GDP. This is guanidine diphosphate, which can bind to the, is a mimic, and it can bind to the hepcidin, and it doesn't allow in the inflammation content to bind with the to the ferroportin. So in that condition, when you don't have inhibitor of ferroportin, your iron goes into the system. So it's an indirect type of treatment of anemia, which is chronic anemia or anemia of inflammation. The iron deficiency anemia you can treat with encapsulated ferric sulfate microemulsion, which one of the member of our group is making the ferric saccharate microemulsion. Because why we are taking ferric saccharate? Because saccharate can act as a prebiotics, and the ferric can act as a source of iron, and then alginate encapsulation can save the iron from the oxidation. So that way we can generally make the encapsulation and we treat the anemic condition. So this is our previous work of the lab, and then what we are doing currently. Okay, next slide, please. Next slide, please. This next, already done. Next slide, please. So this is what we right now we are doing. Actually, we are making some sorry, this slide. Previous slide, please. Previous. Oh, this one, yeah. So what we are making some hydrogel, which is alginate based. So we are mixing some starch with alginate, and starch plus alginate plus calcium, and then we encapsulating iron with the probiotics. So we find some probiotics which is anti-inflammatory. So if you encapsulate both like iron and probiotic along with your capsules, so this probiotic can do the inflammation, as you can see in the right hand side. The bacteria plus iron dextran emulsion formulation is reducing the inflammation marker, and then when you have reduced inflammation marker, your availability of iron is more. So this type of this is a new type of formulation we are developing. We don't find any literature like in the till now, like which they are doing together, like bacteria with iron dextran and hydrogel, which can work as a source of iron for the anemic condition. And so out of this research we get some result which we already communicated to another journal. I'm showing this my very current work. Go to next slide, please. So how we are making this gel? As you can see, like we are mixing alginate, I told you, starch, and then we put some calcium, and then we make hydrogels. So you can see in the hydrogel center is the calcium, and when we give this hydrogel, it can release iron at pH around 7, which is pH of your jejunum and dedunum. Dedunum is a part where the absorption start. So once it's come out from the stomach is coming to jejunum, and then dedunum and jejunum. The dedunum is the part, and then jejunum upper part is the portion where the maximum iron got absorbed. And you can see this is the appearance of our hydrogel. You can in the figure in the right side upper figure, you can see like this is hydrogel. When you have hydrogel in the wet condition, when you dry it, so they are hydrogel with iron, without iron. So when we put iron, they change like color because of oxidation. This is a ferric form, and that's why it's showing yellow. And then we showing some SAM figure which is the characterization of this, and then we are putting swelling ratio. What is the swelling means? Like when you put in the different pH, the only its swell is around 7. So when it swell around 7, so then it release the iron. So if you don't swell on other pH like 2 and all, like then it is stable in the from a condition. So it's generally go and release your iron in the duodenum and jejunum only, where it's required basically for absorption. And you can see the amount of iron we are getting from bacteria plus iron dextran formulation, and only iron dextran, because bacteria also get some also need some space. So when we encapsulate both, like bacteria plus iron dextran, so we get less iron because of we are getting both. Like we are getting in the system bacteria plus iron dextran. Bacteria help in iron absorption. So when you use only iron dextran, you can get more iron, but that will not be more bioavailable. But when you get more bacteria plus iron dextran, that condition is more useful. And the last picture, you can see the bacteria stability increase to a longer time when we use the encapsulation. And this is the release in the in the lower side of figure. And this is our in vitro data. Like, sorry, next slide, please. So this is our in vitro data. So we tried some Kakudu cell lines, which is mimic to the intestine, and then we give some formulation, and out of that we deduct some conclusion how we can. The ferritin is a protein which generally is where the iron stored inside the gut. So if you have more iron, is stored in the ferritin H. Whenever you require, it's come out from the ferritin and goes in the system. So you can see in the when you putting the anemic condition, which is in the Western, you can see in the third line, you can see the anemic condition is generated. So we don't have ferritin H ferritin band because we don't have iron as such. But when you treat your system with the formulation, you get back band recovery. So it means iron is coming in the system. So this is I can explain more, but this is not the like I'm just giving a general overview how we are treating with the formulation and all. Like this is the thing. And in the next slide, I want to tell you how we are doing in vivo. Like we are repeating the same result in vivo, like in mice. Go to the next slide, please, Vinta. So this is the next slide. So in the next slide, we are making you can see in the right hand side, you can see we are making the beads of the irons. So we're mixing the like base with our formulation. So you can see drop like you can see this palette have some yellow patches. So this is with our formulation, and then we give this to we generate anemic condition in the mice, and we give this palette after generating the anemic condition. And you can see this, and when you give this formulation or this palette or this beads to the anemic mice, so this recovery is coming the you can see this is a pink line. You can see the anemic condition is recovering from anemic condition to the normal. So this shows like when you generate the anemic condition and you give the formulation, this viability is high, and this anemic condition is going to the normal. So that formulation can be alternative of the present formulations which we currently going in the literature or in the market. So we are trying like whether we can try this with the with the next level. But right now we are making it more more ready for next level. Next slide, please. And as I'm a person of like more in experiment in like animals, but as it's a common forum, so I want to discuss this plant thing also, like how we can do in plants this iron thing. So how we can do fortification in crop, how people do generally do biofortification in crops. Like you just take like wheat crops and you add some nutrients and do processing. So whatever you get like this called traditional fortification. Like you get cereal with added nutrients, and then when you eat it, so you get nutrient along with the food. But now with the time comes, like people are trying more type of fortification method. Like this is called biofortification. So what is the difference between traditional fortification and biofortification? Now with the breeding, like you are adding you're crossing one line which have high iron with a low iron line, or two different lines to make a line which have high iron or high zinc, or maybe both type of traits. So you can choose like which line you want, and then you can mix them with the breeding. And then people are doing their genetic modification also, like they are inserting some genes in the plant, and they're modifying the CRISPR technology. They are adding some genes outside from the outside, or they are modifying the genes. So depend upon the technology you want to use, you can say like whether it's biofortified or it's a genetically modified. So this all come under biofortification, and then whatever you get the more iron containing crops, which you can try in with the other like. Then you can go with the thing like this is variety which have higher iron, high zinc, and the other thing like. But I feel like if we enhance in line with the one macronutrient one time, that will be better, because I always believe there's some interference or competition with the metal. Like when you make two metal together, like iron zinc, because when we eat it, our transporter is same, like DMT1, which have dimetal transfer. So if you giving two like iron zinc together, so they have always competition for absorption. So because they are both are dimetal, like iron or zinc, when they get absorbed, so they can have some interference. So that is my belief. Like so we should try like one metal one time. But as time come, like maybe people are trying more. Like people are trying more than two nowadays, like 3, 4, 5. So I'm gonna give one example where people are trying like through foliar application. People are trying more than 4 type of macronutrient single time. Go next time, next slide, please. So this is general, like what is the difficulty come in the crop fortification? Like when you do the fortification of crop, the viability is low. So this doesn't matter. Like you're just mixing some metal or macronutrient with your wheat or something. Like whether they are available or not doesn't. It's a matter of research, like whether you are making some genetically improved variety, whether it's available to the person which is going to take it or not. Like, and its efficacy is still poor, and this have a tendency to oxidize when you add just through traditional method as a fortificant. So it can oxidize. Like oxidation is always a problem when you use iron. It'll always goes to ferric form. It's oxidized, and it's not available, because whenever you take iron as the iron 3, is precipitated and it's not available for the system to get absorbed. So that is the issue, and maybe the rapid aggregation is the issue, is the next issue which we can face when we fortify the crop with this macronutrients. So next slide, please. So this is thing like so we can discuss, like this is a parameter of iron fortification. So this is basically generally I'm showing the rice crop, because rice crop is a wonder crop. Like they fix the iron through iron generally macronutrient fix through 2 routes, like reduction route and chelation routes. The rice is the only crop which use both the strategy to fix the iron. So in the strategy one, like in the reduction, our plant release the ATPase, which increase the acidity of the soil, and iron got more available or more soluble in acidic condition, and it's absorbed through the iron receptor channels, ferric reductase. They reduce to ferric reductase reduce iron 3 to iron 2, because now it's more soluble form. And now the iron transport get iron from outside soil to the roots. So once root have the iron, it can go to the grass part, or it can go to the endosperm of the seed of the rice. And second thing is strategy 2 is chelation. Like in chelation, you just chelate this cytophores come in the system. When cytophores come, the cytophore bind to your iron, and through cytophore goes inside the inside the roots. So whether it's going through Cyto4 or whether it's going through ATPs depend upon the crop. But rice is the only crop which can take both the root for fixation of this iron. And finally, what is the factor matter here? Whether whatever iron you're fixing, whether they are bioavailable or not bioavailable. So depend upon the things. Then you have to do the bioavailability test, which we do on the animal. We can do. You can take the same seed. You can digest them, and then you can try on the cell line, and you can try them on the animal line, and then you can finally give to the person. So once you calculate the bioavailability of the iron available to the seeds, then you can claim, or you can then you can say that this crop have more iron or more zinc or whatever macronutrient you want to enhance in a crop. So depend upon this test. So next slide, please. So this is some of the botanical strategy people are using, and then some genes people are modifying, inserting to make the more more fortified or more macronutrient rich crop. So some example from rice, some are from wheat, some are maize, and this is the genes names. Different genes are there. So people are inserting genes into the crop, and they're getting the better iron or better other minerals. So depend upon the requirement whether they need iron, zinc. So they are inserting gene, and they're getting the better crop compared to the earlier crop. So next slide, please. So this is an example, in our institute, Dr. Pandey is working. So what he do, he do some CRISPR-9 technology, CRISPR-Cas9 technology. So what he do, he inhibit the genes by which he can reduce the phytic acid level in the wheat. And when you reduce the phytic acid level, you can make the iron and zinc more available to the system. So he actually, you can say indirectly, he's making iron and zinc more available of wheat to the system by reducing the phytic acid. Phytic acid is a chelator or the inhibitor of macronutrient bioavailability. So if you can reduce
Dr. Singhal, could you kindly sum up now?
Sorry, just last slide, sir. Okay, then this is as I told you in the last, people are trying to make more wheat, zinc, iodine through foliar spray. So this is it's a technology by which you can, in a single go, you can make many macronutrients available to the one crop. And next slide, please. So this is basically my group, and I'm thankful to IRI and my director for giving me permission for this lecture. And we are using fund from DST and DBT, so we are very thankful for them. And then Punjab University for registration, and this is my lab. So what we are with whom we are working. Thank you very much for giving me a chance. And this is. If you have any question, you can ask me. Please.
Thank you, Dr. Singhal, for excellent presentation. You have covered all aspects of iron availability, especially your own work on fortification and encapsulation using nanoparticles, and also using hydrogel-based iron supplement. I hope you will be able to develop this new technology, which will go a long way in reducing our iron deficiency. There will be some questions which we will take at the end of the third lecture.
Okay.
Now, the third speaker today is Dr. Sushant Verma, who is a well-known laparoscopy and general surgeon from Primus Super Specialty Hospital. He did his MSc surgery from Maulana Azad Medical College, Delhi, worked in LNJP hospital for almost 6 years. He is an expert in both general and laparoscopic surgeries and in handling trauma cases. I have great pleasure in inviting him to deliver lecture on a surgeon's view on nutrition and immunity. Dr. Sushant Verma, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. Am I audible?
Good afternoon, yes.
Actually, it is not an off day for me for sitting in my OPD with all these masks and shields and headgear. Yeah, are you able to listen?
Yeah, we are able to hear you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity which has provided from your esteemed institution. I would like to thank all my colleagues who talk so much about the topic. So the topic which was assigned to me has been the point of view of surgeon regarding nutrition and immunity, especially during the times of this COVID pandemic. So it has been about 6 months when this pandemic really came to India and has exploded in a massive way. Being a part of a healthcare being the part of the healthcare of this country, a major challenge was thrust upon on all the doctors all over the world. No one knew how to diagnose this problem, how to cure this problem. There was total mayhem when this condition presented all over the world. So, during the time of this grave emergency, very quick and somewhat tough decisions were taken by all the hospitals, be it government, be it private, so as to increase the bed facility, the ICU facility, the ventilator facility for the patients of corona infection and so-called patients with life-threatening complications. Being coming from LNJP hospital, it has become the cornerstone of treatment, especially in Delhi. I talked to my surgery colleagues and surgery professors. They say that they have never seen such kind of mayhem during their whole of career, somewhere spanning more than 30 years. So the challenge has been very grave. The response has been quick, and by this time the health facilities have become somewhat acceptable to handle the situation, especially the life-threatening cases. With the increased knowledge about this infection and the examples of other countries, India has somewhat been able to control the mortality part to a great extent. We are still not very sure that the exact number of cases which are being reported are actually the same, or whether they are 10 times more or 20 times more. But the handling of emergency cases has been somewhat quite good as compared to the foreign countries. Now coming on the topic of nutrition and immunity. So good nutrition, good immunity is the cornerstone of a healthy life. So when as surgeons we were thrust upon this challenge of corona pandemic, the immediate decision was taken that some of the common surgeries which are not emergency or which can be delayed, they were stopped overnight. So many patients who were suffering from some diseases like gallbladder stones, hernias, hemorrhoids, or planned gynecological procedures. So they were taken a bit by surprise or somewhat by shock, because at this time during this fast life, many patients take out their time, they arrange money, they run from pillar to post at government hospitals to get a date, which can sometimes be a period of 6 months or more than 1 year in hospitals like Safdarjung Hospital or even in Loknayak hospitals. Some of the emergency surgeries, they were continued, but those surgeries which are not considered emergency, they are usually delayed otherwise also. But during corona pandemic, such patients were very much in a bit of a disappointment. So when this started, many of my patients or my colleagues' patients, they used to call us as we were just handling emergency cases in our hospitals, that doctor saab, what to do, how to get this nutrition, how to focus on the diet. We had planned operation on this date. Our children had summer vacation, so we have arranged money. So many patients were a bit disappointed. So there was no option just to tell them that nothing can be done at this point of time. The picture was quite bad during the period of April and May. So rather than telling that to not rather than telling them that that your surgery is to be delayed or it can complicate, we just have to guide them so as to make them a bit less anxious. So the role of diet and nutrition became important and is obviously important from a doctor's point of view, especially from a surgeon's point of view whose patient is planning for a elective surgery. So first of all, the basic parameters, the basic points which need to be highlighted, which need to be taken in account by the patient should be regarding diet, exercise, adequate amount of sleep, adequate amount of water intake. These 4-5 points are usually essential to have a good outcome even after surgery or any emergency surgery as well. So coming upon to diet, like everyday knowledge, we used to offer them that they should have a normal amount of diet. Do not take excessive diet. Like many of the patients, many of the people were confined to their homes for a period of 2 to 3 months. Some of them are even now confined to their homes. They are just going around for a bit of a walk or just to buy some stuff from the grocery store. And this affected their time of diet. So first of all, I advise them to take proper diet at the proper time. In our medical terms, we have a terminology like circadian rhythm. That is, you rise in a common language, it can be understood that we rise early, take our breakfast early, take our breakfast heavy. Then as the day goes on, according to the circadian rhythm, the quantity of the diet should be so as to just to fill your tummy, not to overeat. So usually I used to advise them that you have a good heavy breakfast at the proper time. Many of our patients, many of our colleagues, they say that like children or my husband or my wife is sleeping till 9 o'clock, till 10 o'clock, and even till 12 o'clock in the noon, because no one has to go anywhere and everybody is enjoying their time at home. So this actually disrupted their normal routine. So many of the patients, they complained of excessive bloating or pain in the abdomen, or they say that every time there is gas sensation and all that. So the timing of the diet is very important. As coming to the nutritional part, along with the timing, the nutritional part is also very important. So we have to take into account that the diet should be a healthy diet. It should be a component of fats, proteins, carbohydrates in accurate amount. Like the common diet which we prescribe is to have 70% of carbohydrates, 15 to 20% of fats, rest of that to be complemented by proteins. The amount of proteins which has been recommended is about 1 gram per kg body weight per day. So roughly a 60 kg person should have a daily intake of about 60 grams of protein. Another point which was stressed upon, that is to avoid so-called junk food, especially in the children, as they are confined to their homes for more than 6 months. No one is going to school, no one is going to their tuition. Now we see that some of the children are playing in the parks beside their homes. But the initial period of 3 to 4 months, they were just confined to their homes. Secondly, the second point according after diet was stressed upon was adequate amount of sleep and right amount of sleep. So usually we prescribe that you should take a proper sleep of about 7 to 8 hours. The timing of your sleep should not be very much changed from your normal routine, which you used to have when you were going to the office or to school or whatever. Like I earlier said, many patients, they say that my family members are sleeping till 12 p.m. They remain awake at night till 2 a.m. One of my patients and one of my colleagues said that they lie on the bed at 11 o'clock to go to sleep, and they just said that in 15 minutes they'll go to sleep. But then they just pick up their smartphone, and some of the mothers especially complained that when I checked upon my son, my daughter, or my husband, they were still at their mobile phone or their smartphone till 3 a.m. in the morning. So these habits usually adversely affect your overall sleep cycle. So getting a normal amount of sleep and the timing of sleep is also very important for anyone, especially for patients who are planning for getting any treatment or getting any surgery. Thirdly, the amount of water intake. We usually, in my surgical practice, we see a lot of patients of kidney stones, gallbladder stones, dehydration, pain abdomen. So many a times when we inquire about their eating habits, everyone says yes, we eat healthy food, we eat a lot of fiber, we eat a lot of vegetables, we do not take any junk food. When I specifically ask them about water intake, many of them say that they hardly drink 2 to 3 glasses of water a day. So I usually tell all my patients to have good amount of water, about 1.5 liters approximately a day, 7 to 8 glasses of water a day. Especially in this COVID times, many of our senior colleagues and patients also benefited from taking lukewarm water. In Japan and some of the other South Asian countries, they have made mandatory in the school, in the restaurants, that they will only serve lukewarm water with some herbal medicines or some type of a kadha, having some ginger, having some long, elaichi, and all these things. So water intake, especially I see it is very less in our Indian population. And in this corona period, we usually have seen that lukewarm water taken especially during daytime is very beneficial for overall hydration. Then coming upon the impact of this corona pandemic on the timing of surgeries, we have seen that the patients were taking adequate amount of diet, adequate amount of nutrition, but they were still having some discomfort because of their disease, or they were just adamant about getting operated. So we have to make arrangements. We had to make isolation wards. We had to make separate ICU setup, separate ventilator setup, so as not to mix the corona patients with non-corona patients. Since about since about 2 months post July or late or early August, we have started doing elective surgeries after getting all the necessary tests and prescribing them all the necessary precautions. Uh, and besides the yeah, I was able to see a question like what was the impact of patients or gender on COVID or blood groups. So world over, which has been seen that the mortality, it has been more in those patients who have comorbid conditions. Comorbid conditions which will include diabetes, hypertension, kidney disease, renal failure, cancer patients. So what we have seen in our Indian setup that the mortality has been definitely been more in those patients who have been suffering from comorbid conditions. Because the comorbid conditions have a adverse effect on your overall immunity. We see many patients of diabetes who have uncontrolled sugar despite taking medications because they are lacking either in their activity or dietary habits or the timing of medicines. So such patients, if infected with corona, it is like a havoc. Many of the diabetes patients, uncontrolled diabetic patients, they really went up on ventilatory support, and some of them eventually even died also. In our doctor fraternity also, we have seen many COVID warriors have succumbed to this disease, and some of them even had comorbidities and had to work really long hours and in strenuous environment. We see all these N95 masks and face shields and PPE kits and many protective gear which have come up, but it initially nothing was available at all the centers. Some one or two high centers, high volume centers and private hospitals were able to arrange these things quickly, but many of the doctors, they had to really face a pretty bad situation due to lack of protective gear. So my take upon nutrition and immunity is such that it is like a basic message which is usually given by our mothers and grandmothers, our dadis and nannies, that you have good amount of sleep, you avoid junk food, you take a nutritious diet, you exercise or you remain active, you wash your hands before entering the home. Even many of the old school people used to have bath every time they used to come from home after work in the evening. Now I cannot imagine myself going back to home and not having a shower before touching anything or having our meals or doing my leisure work at home. So these were the old habits uh, which have become a bit of a lost in the recent generation. But definitely these habits of good hygiene, good nutrition, good amount of sleep, good amount of water, normal amount of water, keeping yourself hydrated, these things eventually go a long way to build upon your overall immunity. We hear many patients that this COVID is nothing, Just a viral fever, you will have 2 or 3 sneezes, you will have 2 or 3 days of fever, and then nothing, and you will have good amount of immunity. So immunity is not an overnight concept. One of our presenters talked about the fad foods and super foods which have come up. Yeah, he's absolutely right. Taking haldi overnight or taking any amount of superfood overnight will not build your immunity. Rather, we have seen some of the patients that they took excessive amount of haldi and landed up in severe abdominal pain, cramps, and diarrhea episodes. Another person took some locally available kadha and he had severe respiratory difficulty and chest pain. So nutrition and immunity cannot be built upon overnight. This has to be stressed upon basically from the school level or from your parents or your grandfathers, grandmothers, and your colleagues. Remaining fit, remaining a healthy diet, having healthy sleep goes a long way in overall promoting your immunity, especially in this COVID. This amount of lockdown or staying at home or doing work from home cannot go unlimited. Someday someone has to leave all that and go to their work, go to their place. So you make yourself a timetable or a routine. Take your water bottle with you, have some lukewarm water, and take nutritional supplements are obviously beneficial. So some of the recommendations include taking a good amount of vitamin D, a vitamin D capsule or a vitamin D sachet. It has been prescribed to take once a week for 6 to 8 weeks, as 70–80% of our Indian population is very deficient in vitamin D. We have seen some studies that the vitamin D deficiency has been linked with adverse effect and adverse outcome in corona. Another nutrient which has been recommended is taking a good amount of zinc. So zinc supplements, vitamin D supplements, vitamin B12 supplements. These supplements have actually been found to be effective, not in a short term. That is not that you take them recently and you will become a very healthy person. But definitely these supplements can decrease the morbidity of the disease. So even if after all the precautions or all the hygiene habits and all amount of good nutrition and immunity, if God forbid anyone catches this infection, he or she should remain confident that his exercise routine or diet routine will take him through or take her through this disease, and not having any panic is very important. So with these few words, I would like to conclude my words. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Verma. You have really given a lot of advice for people, and I think the major message from your talk is diet and nutrition is important. Of course, exercise you emphasized on proper diet, and also at a proper time. I think this is very important. And then you said healthy diet, which should have proper mix of protein, carbohydrate, fat, especially protein. You said about 1 gram per kg body weight. Your advice to avoid junk food, I think this is very important. Sleep well, I think that's another message. Most of these days, children are addicted to this smartphone, and I think even adult population is getting addicted to smartphone, and that's what is disrupting not only sleep but even communication in homes. I think that's important. Then water intake, I think most of us don't realize the importance of water. I think everybody recommends we should take 5 liter water, but when it comes to measure, I think nobody takes more than 2 or 2.5, 3 liter. Very few follow this, but I think your message is to take lukewarm water, plenty of water, and you said that even our old habits were good. Last point that you made was a vitamin D supplementation. I think this is important to give more probably immunity, or to give little more ability to fight the COVID-19. Most people are afraid of COVID-19. I think, but message is that they should not be afraid, but should take enough care. So I really thank you very much. Now there will be a few questions the participants who have thrown open. Dr. Srinivasan will read out these questions to the speakers and they may answer, please. Dr. Srinivasan.
Thank you, sir. I have received 2 questions each for the speakers. I would start with Dr. Felix. I hope he's around. Dr. Felix, I enjoyed your talk. And the first question for you is, when the scientific evidence is in the literature is for both pro and cons are there in the literature, the question is, how does a scientist then take a stand on an issue? And how does he advise others whether what is good or what is not good? Because the other party would point out the evidence which is against it. So this is your first question. And the other question is regarding if spirulina is so good, the algae in high quality protein, why can't we advertise it?
All right, so thank you so much for these questions, sir, Dr. R. Srinivasan. And I also enjoyed the other 2 sessions after my session, and especially the final speaker here, Dr. Sushant Verma. It was really nice and absolutely fantastic. Now, coming to your first question about pros and cons. Of course, several of these claims do have papers substantiating and invalidating the thing. One good example would be turmeric. So if you look at the 6,000 odd papers, so many papers say that it is effective, few others say that it doesn't work. So how do you actually do that? So that is exactly in evidence-based medicine, there is a concept called meta-analysis. So analysis of the primary research paper. So research papers as such is not a final stay. So in the evidence-based medicine, the final say is something called meta-analysis that analyzes the quality of the evidences. And after different meta-analysis, there will be one thing called systematic review, and finally recommended. So that is what, as of now, the gold standard of the evidence-based medicine is Cochrane reviews. So Cochrane has got every kind of supplementation, and they make a review, pro or no, go for it or not to go for it. So that is what the doctors, the modern medicine doctors actually look at the Cochrane review. And of course, Cochrane review keep on changing because in light of new evidence, they keep on changing the recommendations. So that is what the Cochrane review and systematic review is currently the gold standard, because the paper as such, or even the patents, of course, there are so many patents which are really crap, not scientific. And just because there is a patent doesn't mean it attested. Patent is only about the novelty of a design or an invention. So getting a patent doesn't mean that it is scientifically evident. Coming to your next question about spirulina protein, of course, spirulina has got protein, and you can market. There is no problem marketing the spirulina, but again, it's a gimmick, because spirulina protein is no better than a protein that you get from for example, any of the legumes, soybean, for example, or soy chunk. That is my favorite protein source. So it is very cheap, and it gives a substantial protein boost. Especially Dr. Sushant has he highlighted the importance of having the protein. Of course, the protein, I tend to say that you pay money for how much protein that purported food has. If the food has got a lot of protein, you don't have to mind spending a bit more money for it. So spirulina, of course, it is very expensive and it is impractical to get proteins from spirulina. You have to eat spirulina for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, grams after gram. It is not possible. So instead of spirulina or any supplementation for the protein, I suggest that go with the diet. Just get the quality proteins from your diet. Leguminous food is absolutely fine. Soybean, soy chunks are really good source. Or even the dal, urad dal. If you're a South Indian, you can just make idli or dosa with my method of making dosa is that I go for 1:1. The rice and urad dal. Urad dal is an excellent protein source. So it's a bit expensive, but it's nothing. If you compare with spirulina, spirulina is too very expensive. So that is why the protein is extremely important. But rather than this kind of interventions, lifestyle chances are the best option. I would also like to answer one of the additional question, which is whether one question I received from the madam. Dr. Jayanti Madhavan. I'm not sure Dr. Jayanti is around or not. And this is one more question about my talk. Let me read out her comment in the Q&A session. Yes, Dr. Felix, there are many superstitions regarding periods, but many of the superstitions, when properly analyzed, were meaningful in those days. Ladies were told to sit outside because hygiene could not be maintained like these days. Pads were not available, so sitting outside was the best way. Not all superstitions are stupid, I feel. Well, Dr. Jayanti made a point there, but unfortunately, I don't agree with that point because it is not like hundreds of years back incident. It was like, I'm only 40 years now. So 30 years back is what, 15 years back. Even now, the practice is being continued in Kerala, So the women on period are outcast. They, especially in Brahmin community, they are not allowed to go in Samin unless you are educated, of course. But in typical Brahmin society like Nambutiri Brahmin families, like my own family, if you look my ancestral family, women on period are confined to an outhouse. So that practice is still existing and still people justify it. And I'm really shocked to see that this kind of justification of the old practice, saying that it is really good, and that happens again and again. It's not just in India, but also in abroad. One good example would be eugenics. Eugenics are actually racist. They try to substantiate that the white people have supremacy. One good example would be Dr. Watson, James Watson, the co-inventor of the DNA double helix, the structure. The Watson said that white people are having IQ much better than the black or Asian. Indians are inferior to the Western people because they have better IQ. Come on, that is a complete racist. And Watson is not invited anymore in any of the national academies and any of the good academic meetings in either in the US or in the Europe, because he said this racist comment. And not just Watson, I can also say one good example would be, I'm actually from North Kerala, a place called Payanur. And near to my place, there is a Karnataka South Canara temple called Kukke Subramanya temple. And an age-old practice in Kukke Subramanya temple is called Made Snana. That means basically Brahmins. I still remember when I was a kid, I used to go there. We used to have feast inside the main temple, very near to the Sanctum Sanctorum, on the plantain leaf, and we will not take the leaf. We will leave it for the the lower caste people, and they will come and they will do the Shayana Pradakshin. Basically, they sleep on it, they lay down, and they actually take rounds. They think that is actually a good practice for them. There's a superstition. And one guy he's actually Dalit, he complained against this racist and casteist practice in the Kukke Subramanya to the Supreme Court. I forgot his name, gentleman. And the court stayed it. Made Snana has been stayed. He got the stay order from the Supreme Court and he came back to the Kukke's temple and he was beaten. And do you know who beat this guy? He was not beaten by Brahmin, but he was beaten by Dalit. They were saying that it is our birthright to do this. And same thing in Sabrimala temple also. Recent episode, 1 or 2 years back, Sabrimala temple, of course, the females were not allowed. And the Supreme Court, yes. So
Dr. Felix, you made your point. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I am reminded of Dr. Verma also mentioned it. I think you have heard of Michael Pollan.
Yes.
And he says, whatever your grandmother ate, you eat this, that would be the best food you can think of.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Now I will request Dr. Nitin. You have two questions, and one is, can you comment on relationship between the threshold of micronutrients to its bioavailability? That is first question. The second is, what is the role of nutrigenomic signature effect being unique among individuals? So how would the hydrogels will have an unified effect? Dr. Nitin? Is he around?
Hello?
Yeah, you have heard the questions?
No, sir. Can you repeat, please?
Yeah, the first is the relationship between threshold of micronutrient and its bioavailability. And
Sir, I didn't get it. Threshold means what? Like, sir, I didn't get. What is the first question, sir?
Can you comment on the relationship between threshold of a micronutrient to its bioavailability?
Okay. Actually, when you talk about the threshold is not like threshold is something like what is minimum required and what is the bioavailability. So whatever iron, suppose you talk about iron. So when you're taking iron, so the bioavailability doesn't go with the amount of macronutrient you're taking and whatever iron, whatever macronutrient taking. So body have a system like to control the amount of nutrient it required for proper functioning. So like for each nutrient, like there's a bioavailability ratio is fixed. Like for iron, is like 3 to 5%, and the bioavailability you can vary by varying the composition of metrics of food. Like your food have some inhibitors, so bioavailability will be less. Like it's go to 2 to 3%, and if you have better food metrics, bioavailability will be like up to high, like 5%. So doesn't matter like whether you're taking 100 gram of iron with the food, but whatever body required, the only 5% of the macronutrient will go to the body. So the basically the bioavailability of the iron is 5% for the
The
system.
next question is the nutrigenomic signature being unique among individuals. How does your hydrogels that its effects will be unified?
Actually, we are not talking about the personalized nutrition right now. So we are talking, we are addressing a population which is deprived or which is poor population. So right now we are not going by one person to one person, like personalized signature according to personalized signature or personalized nutrition. So right now we want to eradicate the issue of anemia. So we are not considering the individual signature or nutritional signature. We want to give a population a better iron source or better iron available source, so that at least we can mitigate or eradicate this problem of anemia. So our aim is not like personalized thing. Our aim is to make a better bioavailable iron source. So that is the thing, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Nitin. Dr. Verma, one question which you have anyway answered is, what are the specific nutrients one should take to improve the immunity against viruses, particularly coronavirus? The other one is, tell us about what is the time period required to spread the virus between two individuals when a healthy person comes in contact with an infected person. Verma ji, you have to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Yes.
The time required depends. Time required for spread of infection from a healthy to an infected person depends upon the viral load of the patient or the person.
Okay.
My elder brother is a cardiologist. He himself got infected from coronavirus. So when we stumbled upon how he got it, so it was just like he was doing a procedure to a patient, emergency procedure. The corona COVID report of the patient was not available just because it was an emergency procedure. So when he got back to that patient, he took the history of the patient from the attendant. They said that yes, he was having some fever for 1 to 2 days, having some sore throat, having some cough. So the viral load which is actually present within the patient, the duration can be as short as 5 minutes. So even if you are nearby a patient who is already having symptoms of fever, cough, sore throat, broadly symptomatic. One is asymptomatic, he doesn't have anything. You just get him tested, he will have coronavirus report positive. Another is a symptomatic patient. The symptomatic patient is already having lakhs or crores of virus replicas inside his or her body. So in a symptomatic patient, if you are nearby to him, even in 5 minutes you can get the infection. Otherwise, what we usually have in our practice, that a time period of 30 minutes have been 20 to 30 minutes have been said, that if you remained in close contact for a period of more than 30 minutes with a known patient, then you are having a very high chance of getting an infection. This duration of roughly 30 minutes usually implies to a patient who is already being isolated in his or her home. So the family members need to understand that they have to remain far from the person. Yes, they can move around near him, they can go around him, but average time of more than 20 to 30 minutes should not be more than that. So knowingly, if you have some patient, then you remain adequately distanced from that person. But if someone is hiding himself or herself from the infection, even 5 minutes is sufficient to get the infection.
So I thank you, Dr. Verma. I hand over the mic to Dr. Mehta, sir. I think that's all. We have questions from which we have received. Dr. Mehta? Sir, you have to unmute yourself. Maybe we lost connection.
I think Dr. Mehta has lost connection, but he has given me a message that he is requesting Dr. Bhatt to sum up the session. Meanwhile, he joins. Dr. Bhatt, please.
Oh, this is an unannounced assignment. First of all, a wonderful session. Dr. Shalli Praveen deserves all the praise for conceiving and executing this webinar lectures, and also for celebrating this nutrition month in a very innovative way. I think nutrition is important to everybody, and all the more so in this COVID condition when everybody is, wanting to know how to remain healthy. I think I would take that this pandemic is, in that sense, a positive development because people are now giving importance to the hygiene, health, nutrition, and all these factors. So I would say that this adverse situation is also in a way positive because every corner of the country, every individual, including the children, have become aware of the health and hygiene and how we should conduct ourselves in public. Particularly in India, I would say that where spitting is a real major disease, a greater disease than anything else. I think this is the time with the mask on, I think some people at least will be cured of this, bad habit. Overall, the sessions have been very well, received. And as far as the food is concerned, in my opinion, it's a personal choice. We all know what is good to eat, but we also have the weakness of the taste buds that we have been endowed with. So that's why I think we have to use our, pragmatism as well as what I would say, what is really good for us without denying the good things of life. A balance is much more important rather than, some people are too crazy to, be always too much health conscious and deny even the children the benefit of the good food, the tasty food. I think let us take lessons from these lectures that let us be healthy. Let us put adequate emphasis on each of the components, not overdue, emphasis on either health, hygiene, as well as exercise, because overdoing is also equally bad. A moderation is something what we need. And also to all the panelists, to all the speakers, I really congratulate them for sparing time and giving us really that experience for a wonderful session. With this, I would like to thank everybody from IRI and elsewhere for joining us in this IRI Biochemistry and SPBB for this wonderful session. Thank you. I hope Dr. Mehta is now connected, or
Dr. Mehta is back.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Am I audible? Yeah.
Yes, you are audible, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think we have come to the end of this session, and I would like to join Dr. Bhatt in thanking all the three speakers for excellent presentation. In fact, they are a little wiser than what when we started with. At least some of the myths which we have heard from Dr. Felix, we will keep in mind. But I think a lot of other evidences which are there, especially curcumin. I'd like to see now more evidences on that, because this is an age-old practice of taking honey with the milk. I don't know whether it's good or bad, but it is a practice which is being done. But anyway, we have enjoyed all the three speakers, and once again, I want to thank the entire team, Dr. Shelly, Dr. Veda, Dr. Prachi, Dr. Venuti, all other colleagues from Biochemistry Division who have really worked hard for the whole month most to do plan various activities, execute them, and then finally today valediction. I'm personally grateful to Dr. Shelley for giving this opportunity of meeting through at least online, all colleagues, everybody. So thank you very much. I enjoyed. Thank you very much.
So once again, I would like to thank the esteemed chair and the co-chairs for conducting the session. And on behalf of Biochemistry and SPBB, I would like to again thank three wonderful speakers, and I request that you should also join us in our journey in SPBB so that we can do more activities in future. And all the distinguished guests, you are really a wonderful virtual audience. So may I now request my colleague, Dr. Vinuda, for the formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, Veda. It's indeed a great privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. On behalf of Head of the Division, Dr. Shelley Praveen, and on my own behalf, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to today's Chief Guest, Honorable Director, IARI, Dr. A.K. Singh sir, for accepting our invitation in spite of his busy schedule, and shared his valuable inputs with the panelists and participants. Sir, your gracious presence in today's program is a source of great inspiration to all of us. Thank you so much, sir, for your presence. I extend my sincere thanks to guest of honor and chair of today's lecture series, the most respected Dr. S.L. Mehta sir, President SPBB, for his presence and words of encouragement. Thank you so much, sir. I also convey my heartfelt thanks to Dr. S.R. Bhatt, Vice President SPBB, and Dr. R. Srinivasan, Chief Editor JPBB, for co-chairing the session. Thank you so much, sir. I'm extremely grateful to our distinguished guest speakers, Dr. Felix Bast, Dr. Nitin Singhal, and Dr. Sushant Verma for enlightening us with their commendable talk on the subject. Thank you all of you for enhancing our understanding pertaining to nutrition myths, iron nutrition, immunity, and COVID-19. You have indeed put best of your efforts to make this event unforgettable. Thank you so much for all the speakers. I take this opportunity to thank our entire invited guests present over here for gracing this occasion in spite of their busy schedule. I place my sincere regards and thanks to all the invited guests for present over here. I would like to thank the torchbearer of this event, our respected head of the division, Dr. Shelley Praveen, for leading us with her constant guidance and unwavering support in each and every step in organizing this program. Ma'am, we are truly blessed to work under your leadership. Thank you so much, ma'am. This program wouldn't be complete if I won't thank Dr. Monica Jolie, Navita Bansal, Prachi Tagi, and Jannat, who have been constantly involved in various activities and programs arranged in Division of Biochemistry on the occasion of National Nutrition Month. I once again thank you all of you for your contribution. I would like to place my heartfelt thanks to my colleague and convener of the program, Dr. Veda Krishnan, for her undying cooperation in organizing this event. Thank you, Veda. I would like to thank all our faculty members from the Division of Biochemistry and all other participants from various divisions and institutes who have participated here, and thank you all for your gracious presence in this event. I also take this opportunity to thank our students, SRF, RS, especially Tamil Selvan, Rebharti, Dinesh, and Suresh, and supporting staff who are actively involved in organizing this program. Last but not least, I want to place my sincere acknowledgement to one and all who have directly or indirectly involved in this program. Thank you all for your presence.
Thank you, Vanita. I would also like to thank Dr. Berman also, who cooperated us in the Zoom link and all the technical support. Thank you once again. And Shelley ma'am, final remarks?
I enjoyed this session very well, and Dr. Lodha is also here, and throughout he also sat to listen to all the lectures. So we are truly blessed that all our teachers are here, and under their blessings we are conducting